going on, guys? Aaron May with the Extra Reverb Podcast. We are back. Finally back. Been doing a lot of solo stuff recently. Happy to have one of my best friends, Julio Zavala, with us today. One of the most interesting people I know. What's going on, man?
It's good.
How you doing?
I dig that. I like that. Doing great, man. Thank you for having me on. It's always good to just riff with you.
Yeah, I mean, I was finally able to get you in here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're so freaking busy over there.
Yeah, I mean, it's adulting pretty hard these days.
Exactly.
So,
how old's your other son? Your son?
Son's 4.
Okay, so we're like pretty close in the same boat, right? 4 and 1, 4 and almost 2, and 4 and 1, a little over 1. Yeah. It's wild.
It is wild. It is wild. I was just having this conversation today. Actually, it's you talk about busy and time, right? Like, yeah, we all have shit going on, especially if you have remotely successful. Like it takes.
Oh yeah.
It takes effort, real effort, and that goes to everything, friendships also, but ultimately it's whatever you prioritize in your life, you'll make time for, and you'll be able to, to follow those things and develop those things if need be, so it's, so yeah, I mean, it's, you told me about, I mean, I listened to a couple of your episodes of your podcast.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I got you.
I was wondering where those came from.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. I got you. But it's, I was really super grateful that you invited me on.
Yeah, man. So absolutely. So with prioritizing, right? I think with kids, like that's one of the hardest things is because especially like now, what I find is like, there's all this like, especially if you're like, and I don't do it a lot, honestly. Like if I scroll social media, I'm like taking a shit. Like that's the good time. That's when I do the most of it.
Yeah.
Other times, like, okay, I watch podcasts and interviews and stuff on YouTube, like if I'm cooking and stuff like that. But other than that, like I don't want to be doing the phone stuff unless it's for work.
Sure.
But you get that, you always get those like reels and it's like all this parent guilt.
Yeah.
Now, you know what I mean? It's like if you're not staring at your child 24/7, you're a terrible parent. And it's just like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? And it's just, and it's like I have a life too. And I think, I'll hear what you think, is you have to, like, when you do things for yourself, right? Like I'm not gonna not work out. I'm not gonna skip on that. I'm gonna do things that I like to do also, because when I feel fulfilled with myself and things that I like to do, I'm going to be a better person and I'm going to be a better parent.
Absolutely.
Because of it, rather than feeling like I'm just drowned by my kids.
For everyone. You'll be better for the fucking corner store,
exactly,
grocery clerk,
Right.
Like it's, you're your best self when you're taking care of yourself.
Right.
And that's non-negotiables. I think everyone should have non-negotiables.
Yeah.
Right. Like a lot of those non-negotiables could be working out, any sort of practice, musicians have that as well, where it's just, and there's that flow of creativity that's also great too. But again, that should be non-negotiable, right? Like, I mean, artists, when they're going and taking time for themselves, they're drawing. Very religious people, they want to take their time and read scripture, right? I mean, those are all non-negotiables.
We like to think.
Yeah, I mean, depends on the person, right? But gosh, but back to the phone thing, like, yes, you want to be like traditionally present for your kids. You want them to remember you that way, right? I'm definitely not perfect. It's just, it's how weird is it being like, I'm 87. I think you're 89, 90. Bro, like we're carrying around these freaking computers.
I know, dude.
In our phones. We have them in our cars now. Like I remember my dad's fucking like car phone. We called it a car phone. I don't even know if that was called that because he never took it out of the car. So we called it a car. The big gray things, right?
They even had them connected to the car, some people.
Yeah, right. So to be able to see how far we've gone. I was having this conversation today also with this guy. I'm doing this project at work for videos. So we're standardizing um, wayfinder videos and welcome videos for all sports, and I'm leading that project. And I'm working with the guy that he's an older fellow. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but I'm sure if you math it real quick, you could figure it out. But he graduated high school in '87. That's all I know. So the year I was born.
Okay.
So we're having this conversation like, man, millennials, particularly like '90s kids, they grew up in a real interesting sweet spot in history.
I talked about this with somebody also.
Yeah. But it's like we saw that boom of technology, like really. And there's different things in different eras that were big deal, right? Like the radio, I'm sure, was a fucking massive deal to have, back when it came out, and color TV and things like that. Those fucking things that were like weighed
cassette tapes,
80 pounds
to CDs.
Oh, unbelievable, right? we got MP3s and then the iPod.
Right.
iPod I just remember iPod from that point on.
Did you ever remember the little squares, and they were like floppy disks, and you could put music on them, and you like did you have one of those?
So I didn't have that.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I forget what it's called.
I don't know. I remember exactly what it was called, but I mean, I was using, dude, I'm usually a like counterculture, like fucking guy, I'm that guy.
The Walkman.
Yeah, I tried to fucking rock it wouldn't even have a Walkman. That was too popular, like I had like a Sony, like a clear see-through Sony, but man, I love that thing, dude. I love that thing. I love being able to, bust out my CD.
Oh yeah.
Binder.
You listen to one song on one CD, and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this album.
You have the album covers like tucked in as well. Yeah. Like, it's that was my setup. But yeah, we had this whole technological advancement, and we were really the last generation of like young kids, that prime time development era, that I still have vivid memories of playing outside.
Of course.
Right. I have vivid memories of like playing tag.
All the memories.
All like going on the cul-de-sac that I lived on and playing with my neighbors and the other kids and things like that.
Yep.
So we still had that like traditional.
Even in like middle school, it was like you gotta call your friend's house and see if they're home, and like
100%. But then it started turning into don't like. I'm on the internet, so you're not going to get any calls.
Right.
So we started getting that stuff a little bit. And then we started, like, life started just moving to the screen, right? And we got the best of both worlds in a sense, because we got that old world. We were raised in that old world, but then we were born into a new one dramatically also, because, I mean, after the iPod came out, it was iPhone 1, and then the Android started coming, and then all this like more and more reliance in
the Sidekick.
These things. Oh, that was pretty sick though. Sidekicks was sick.
Oh yeah, never had one, but they were sick.
I had one for 3 days, and I remember I dropped it in a puddle. I was so excited about it, dude. I was like, no.
I had a Nokia flip phone with the walkie-talkie.
Those are sick.
That was my first like big cell phone. It was like huge.
Yeah,
that was the big one.
Nice. Sprint, I think. Was it the Sprint or
yeah? It was Sprint. It was Sprint. Yeah. Amar called it Bertha because it was so big. It was literally like this when it was closed. I couldn't text till like sophomore year. I didn't get text till sophomore year.
T9.
The T9 word, yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But now it's like you have these. We do have a duty to safeguard and protect our kids.
Oh yeah.
From that stuff too. It's like we were talking about being a parent, right? Like and prioritizing things. It's like there's so much like that they want to feed them also, right? Like, so certain shows that have, like, for instance,
we don't do that.
But yeah, certain shows though that like have very quick scene changes.
Yeah.
Right. That overstimulate.
Well, it's also like the colors,
the constant singing and the constant like words and things like that. And like if you go back and watch some of our old shows, they do have like a singular scene that they're staying on. You know, I think the span of time is 4 seconds, right? Or it should be at least 4 seconds for.
I don't know.
It's something like that. I mean,
yeah, they've got it scientifically dialed now to just like zone you out.
For the fact checkers out there. But whether it's intentional or not, it's something that we have to look out for, right?
Yeah,
you have different philosophical and ideologies that are out there that, you know, maybe is someone's truth, right? But it's
amazing how many people like that do this, like do it, just like give it like the iPad, give their kid an iPad.
Yeah, 100%.
That's crazy.
100%.
Like,
at the restaurant, like
I see him at the grocery store with the iPad. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Are you doing?
Yeah.
You know,
to calm them down or to keep them busy.
Yeah, exactly. We had one kid. I remember showed up at the house to play. Not at our house. We were over at someone else's house, and it was just somebody else's kid. And they literally gave him their phone, and he was on YouTube like 4 hours straight. Just YouTube. They weren't like, here, they didn't put something on for him. They're just like, here's YouTube.
Brutal.
God knows what he was watching.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the kid's like 7.
Brutal. Yeah.
And you're like, what are you consuming right now?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And it's hard. It's hard for a parent because all of the stuff that we have right now is rooted in things that are convenient, right? Like convenience has taken over. So it's difficult to find ways, and most importantly, find the patience in a scenario where you're trying to. So like, I get it, you get it. They're giving the iPad to calm them down, right? Or to make sure they're good in church.
Does the opposite.
Or it doesn't allow them to emotionally regulate, right? They're not learning and developing those skills that they're going to need when they don't have a screen, right? So it's hard. It's a hard thing for a parent to do, you know, and it's just being able to be rooted in that discipline and have that patience to be able to like talk to your kid. Or sometimes you got to go through the storm and just let them cry it out. Sometimes it's just like all they need is a freaking hug, right? And you know, because their nervous system, when it's close to you and it's connected to you, if you're calm, they feel that unconsciously they feel that heart rate being slowed down, and they feel your breathing, right? So they start breathing, right? And then all things that we know in adulthood, including staying hydrated, drink your water, people. But all those things that we now, there are a lot of practices that have been developed in the realm of breath work, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some very real calming and healing concepts to those modalities, right?
I'm not averse to when it's warranted. I'm not averse to hey, suck it up either.
Sure.
Like, hey,
better than what I got.
Sure. You know what I mean? Like, it's still better than what I got for sure. But it's like, I'm like, look, hey, rub some dirt on it. You're fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're fine. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because somebody's like, oh, you did this. It's like, you're fine.
It's crazy to see how much they like when something, say they fall, they always look around. They look at you. They look for you first before they even have a reaction because they want to see your reaction.
Yeah. How they're learning. How am I supposed to react to this?
Yeah. And if you're like, and again, it's something else that's really hard. Right? Mm-hmm. It's really hard to not jump up and like, oh my gosh, you know. And sometimes it's tough, dude. Like it happened to me the other day. A couple weeks ago. Rylan was playing with Isla, and Rylan's like much taller than I think that she thinks she is.
Yep.
You know? So she's playing with her, putting her over, and Isla hits her head on the fan. You know, and I heard it, and fucking bet your ass I reacted.
Yeah, that's like, different.
She just hit her head on the fucking fan, right?
Yeah.
But in scenarios where they fall or like they bump into the wall, or it's amazing how much they look over. and just to see what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know? And if you're calm and they see it, they model that.
But you got to think about it too. Like they don't even know what emotions are called. Like they don't know what they're feeling. They don't know. Oh, I'm feeling fear right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling pain right now. They don't even know. They
Mm-hmm.
just have a feeling, and they just like, what is this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to like even teach that because they have no concept of it. They're just like,
Yeah.
you know, like I'm feeling sad right now. They don't know that. They're just crying.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going off the gut
Sure.
reaction, but they don't know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
which has got to be crazy.
And then you go into your teenage years, and it's like a whole nother learning of that.
Right. That's when you start to like
hormones are going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what are these feelings?
Right.
What are these? What the fuck?
Exactly.
And it is a very what the fuck part of your life.
Sure. Oh, dude.
Wild.
I wrote some mean raps in high school. Like,
it's good to have that outlet, man. That creative outlet.
You know what I mean? Like,
what a way to move that energy.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of kids keep that in. They don't have outlets like that.
But they don't anymore because they're plugged in.
They're plugged in.
They don't have. They don't think to. They don't do that kind of stuff anymore. They just like get on and you know what I mean. God, I don't even know because I don't do it. And the kids are too little. But it's crazy how much that they already know about technology, and I haven't taught them anything about technology. Like you never sit there and go, "This is what this is." This is. But Layla can pick up the phone and she knows how to take pictures, and then she FaceTimes like grandma, you know, or whatever, and she's putting emoji heads on herself, and all she knows, like she's just like swiping through and doing it. I'm like, how did you? I didn't even know it could do that. Yeah. How did you learn that? I didn't even know it was possible. All of a sudden, I see it. I'm like, how did you do that? She's like, you just do this and this, and I'm like. Yeah. How did you figure that out? You know what I mean? It's kind of nuts, actually. Yeah.
They're raising it, man. That's
what I mean.
They're born into it.
Yeah, they just know somehow. You know what I mean? Yeah. I remember one time, this is years ago now, when I was doing the videos at IMG camp. I had the iPad and I was doing this thing, and there was this kid. He's probably like 8, and he comes over and he's like watching me like record one of the other kids, and he goes, why are you doing that like that? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, let me see it. And he goes, instead of this, he goes, do this and this. And he like cut 3 steps out of what I was doing. And it saved me hours by the end of summer. I was like, thanks. Like, what?
Thanks, little Johnny.
Yeah. Like, what?
I'll remember you forever.
Exactly. I'll never forget it. I was like, that's insane. You just like made my life so much easier. Yeah. Because I was like, this is a pain in the ass to have to do this every time. He's like, you don't have to do that. You just click this instead.
And they'll do that, right? Like, bro, when Ezra was born, I just knew, man, this kid's gonna be my teacher, bro. Like, from a philosophical standpoint, it's yeah. Yes, there is a certain there's a certain degree into which you need to teach them things, values and morals, and have that good moral compass, and be able to make good decisions in a bind, right? A lot of that is modeled, but it's also, you want them to find their own expression in this world, right? Because it's not just the parts of us that they're made up of. That's also the parts of their mothers, right? And very different experiences, very different things that are passed down into them.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Right, so it's like, and it really is just like, I'll sit and look at both of them. It's just like, man, what a marvel! What what a thing that we did, you know. Especially when you consider that how many people it took to actually make us, right? And how many people it took to like fucking survive some shit for me and you to be sitting right here right now.
Yeah.
Right. Especially when you consider like every single person has a pair of parents and 2 pairs of grandparents, and every single person like that's like, you go back 9 generations, that's like thousands of people.
And then I saw this thing the other day. It was like they uncovered that, I forget who was it. There was a historical figure from like thousands of years ago, 1,000 years ago, that they traced back that every person is related to.
What a guy.
Yeah. like every person has some of is from that same thing. And I was just like, that is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
That it goes like
Mm-hmm.
like back in, out and back in.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was right now, but that's fucking nuts. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like think about all the, not just the people, but think about all the things that had to happen, all the
Mm-hmm.
events that had to take place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That had to lead to like you being here.
100%.
You know what I mean? All think about all the stories that went down, all the
100%.
lives that were lived, and everything that freaking went like happened, like unbelievable.
So we can think about it, but it's also there's something in us genetically where we can feel that shit too.
Oh yeah.
Like on a cellular level, oftentimes we're going through things where we have experiences that put us in an anxious state, let's say, right, or any sort of emotional state, and how we react. I mean, there is coding inside of us that is like, these are coded things that happen that, like, have you ever done something where it's like, why did I do that? Like they're like just split
all the time.
It happens, right? And it's essentially just coding that was formed through our DNA structure and epigenetics, which is like an unbelievable thing. The whole concept of epigenetics, but how trauma can literally be passed down from person to person. And even though, yes, trauma can be passed down from person to person,
because it affects your DNA directly, and then that, it's just what it is. I think that's part of deja vu too. Honestly, when you get that,
yeah,
I really think it is.
Even to go a step further, I'd even almost say the experience of past life stuff.
Well, that for sure.
It's like, okay, what if I'm not just some random Indian, like whatever. Like, some people have those things. What if that is literally someone in you? Like, if you saw it, great. But what if that's someone in your actual line,
right?
Your ancestral line that you're still accessing.
Yeah, like it. You ever want to? Like, what if it's cycled through?
I mean, what
I mean?
There's.
What if it's cycled? Like the consciousness is cycled through from like, maybe not like, okay, I'm gonna be like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna be born, but what if like, I don't know, like a great grandfather dies, and now that soul's in your daughter or in your son. Like I could see that.
Yeah, and I'm not going to pretend to know the ins and outs.
No.
Of a soul, right? Like,
no, I mean, there's a million different possibilities of that, of what actually it is,
and there's a million different
that are all believable.
100%, right? But either way, it's something that is more than just the flesh, right? I think every religion can agree on that. It's something more. And when we use whatever it takes to access that and connect to that, really be aware of that, it's always there. Our boy Ramdas calls the the watcher, right?
Yeah. The witness,
right? And he nails it on the head, right? It's always there,
right?
It's always like something that is just. I don't know if you ever read this book. I'm about to get. This is like the one tennis book I ever read.
Okay.
It's called. It's by Galway.
I probably read it.
I forget what it's called. Anyway, it talks about
the mental side of tennis or something like that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's totally that.
I know
I'm
what you're talking
blanking
about.
on. I can't believe it because it's one of my favorite books.
I can see the cover. It's a white cover.
Yep.
Yeah. Like a brain, and I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
I forget the name of it too. It's like the winning edge or something like that.
It's something. It's the
mental edge.
The something game of tennis.
The inner game.
Inner game. Thank you. Yep. Thank you.
That's it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. This guy in the 70s he tapped in, dude. He tapped in. I don't know last time if you ever read that book, but you open it up
a long time ago.
You should recheck it out because he thanks two people. One of them is Maharaji.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. That
says it right there in the book, bro.
That's crazy.
Right there in the book. It's like, thank you, Maharaji, for teaching me what the real game is. And that's one of the forwards in the book is the real game is the game that brings you. It's like the game that brings you joy. That's the real game, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like anything
very
can
rare
bring you
moments
that.
in tennis.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Very
Let's not
rare
even get into
moments
that,
of
bro.
joy.
Like that's like you're facing your inner fucking demons.
Yeah,
in
literally
tennis.
the
Like-
worst demons, dude. You're like a dragon slayer.
You're out there by yourself, bro. But
Swords drawn.
he talks about player one, player two, and then how player one and player two both have this, like they both have an opinion on every single point, right? They have a judgment
Mm-hmm.
of every single point. And ironically, the only person not actually judging if this point's good, if this point's bad, is the actual judge on the court, right? That third person who is watching everything.
Yeah.
And he's liking player one, player two to our thoughts, you know, and how we have judgments of every action that we do, everyone else does, things like that. And all the judges doing, what's the judge doing? They're just keeping score, you know, making
right,
calling the shots, right? Like
I always wondered how close attention they're paying to like the match itself and the drama of it, or if they're just like literally just like waiting.
I mean, some of the tennis were just the era we're getting out of, and even the era we're getting into. There's no way they're seeing those points and being like, that wasn't
just
a
being
good shot.
Indifferent.
Yeah.
How do you watch a Federer Nadal match?
There's no chance.
Indifferently.
There's no chance.
No chance. Nowadays,
Absolutely
I can
not.
see it.
Absolutely,
there's not a lot of great tennis right now.
So I would agree. It's not at that level.
At that level.
But it is. I do believe it's also returning back to like early '90s, where it's anyone's game. You know, which is a different experience.
It is. It's a totally different experience. You know, and I said this for years. I was like, when these three guys, Djokovic, Federer, and Nadal, I was like, when they retire, like, yes, they dominated, but they dominated because the level they were playing at was way up here, and everybody else is right here. I said they're going to go away, and that's going to this second tier of people that's going to bring them up to the top. But that's just going to be like, then it's just going to be like literally week to week, anybody could win, which is exciting, but the level is not as high. You know what I mean?
I think Sinner's pretty good though.
They're great.
Sinner's like
they're great, but Sinner is not beating prime any of those guys.
Any of them?
No. In their prime, I don't think, no chance.
And he's not beating the 3 or the 4. Are you counting Murray?
I'm not counting Murray.
Okay, I don't count Murray.
Yeah,
I love him. He's great.
Yeah. I just don't. I'm not counting him in that. Like like all these guys have 20 plus majors. We can't count Murray. He's not beating prime Djokovic. Like if he's not beating Djokovic at his age, he's not beating Federer at his age. He's not beating Nadal, especially not beating Nadal at his age. You know what I mean? I think he was probably the earliest bloomer. But yeah, no. And dude, Fed like 04 Fed was just outrageous.
Unbelievable.
People will never know.
Big shirt Fed.
Unless you were there, you'll never know. You can't appreciate it unless you were there. Yeah, big shirt Fed. Exactly. Ponytail Fed was peak Fed for sure, dude.
Yeah.
Just like unbelievable. I didn't realize it. I think I did, but he never retired from a tennis match.
Fed?
In his career. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's insanity.
That's just peak form dedication, bro.
Yeah, and also a testament to good technique.
I mean,
and being
perfect technique.
You know what I mean?
For
and being and staying
shots and movement.
Right.
Like,
that's what I mean.
Like just without the racket.
Exactly.
He's like
you can't.
There's a reason he looked like he was walking on clouds.
You just can't get injured that way. You know what I mean?
Super functional.
Yeah. Whereas Nadal is not like, and Djokovic too. Like their technique is not. It's great, but it's not. It wasn't as like textbook.
Djokovic is. I mean,
the frameworks are all the same.
Djokovic is just like fucking Gumby man, dude.
Yeah.
Like he's just so elastic.
His technique, credit to him though. Yeah. Over the course of time, he definitely tuned it up and got it better. Because when he was a kid, like it was terrible.
Yeah.
When he first came out, it was literally just like Stretch Armstrong.
Right.
That's all he had going for him.
Nadal's style is just so physical.
Yeah. Right? I thought he'd be done by like 25.
Everyone
26.
did.
I was like, he's done. No
there
chance.
Was a guy that came through.
Not 37.
Work that knew his doctor in Spain. And he was saying like the cartilage is completely torn off in his knees. He's done. And the fucking guy goes to win like 14 more after that, you know?
Yeah,
like
all French Opens.
Largely French Opens.
Whatever.
But, I mean, he redefined that surface completely.
Nobody's doing that again. Somebody might win that many majors. I doubt it. But
for one tournament, one surface,
but just the same tournament 14 times,
or specifically clay.
Yeah, get out of here.
That's insane.
I think it was just partly his game style, but also I think it was the way his game style went into it. Like people are just like, if you wanted to beat him there, it's like you're gonna hit backhands above your shoulder for 4.5 hours, and if you're willing to do that, like you might have a chance, and you're still probably gonna lose. But and everybody's just like, fuck that, I'm not doing that.
Literally
like,
over your shoulder.
They get like 2 hours in, and they're like, I'm done. Like, screw this guy, because he'll just do it high backhand, like for 4 hours. He'll be like, stop it.
I feel for Raj, man. That's
yeah.
He figured it out. 17 Aussie Open though.
Yeah, I mean, when that was the thing. His backhand down the line had to be on for him to win.
When the only way you're going down the line is taking everything off the rise.
Well, that's what I mean. And if that shot was on for him, he won. He usually won the match. I was looking at this the other day. Like when the backhand down the line was on, he won those matches against Nadal. Unfortunately, most of the time obviously a hard shot to hit with his ball with a one-hander. And that's why Djokovic was able to beat him more often, because he had the two-hander, and it's easier to have that shot down the line with two hands.
And he was a little more physically able to take it off the rise.
That's what I mean.
And that's what I was looking at this interview with Rafa. Now, I think it was with Roddick.
Okay.
The podcast on Andy Roddick's podcast.
Yeah.
And he was saying that for the whole first half of their rivalry, Fed kept trying to like go heavy with him, and he just like took advantage of it and just kept going heavier to the backhand.
Yeah,
and then found his openings and then went for it. But that's all he did, like just heavy to backhand, and Fed kept backing up and kept trying to go heavy with him, heavy back.
Yeah.
But then that Aussie Open, I remember it was when he was coming back from that first injury stint. It's also when he came back with 97 head frame.
Yeah.
The reimagined Pro Staff.
Yeah.
Right.
When Wilson started going down the toilet.
It looks sexy though.
It looks great. I have one.
Unbelievable. It was super heavy, crazy heavy.
It's a great racket. It is.
Yeah, it's good. But he went up to 97. Made that sweet spot a little bit bigger, and then he was stepping into every single ball, dude. I remember watching that live. It was like 3 a.m. or something.
Yeah.
And I was just so.
We probably watched it together.
Maybe. Honestly, I don't even remember, but I remember they're both wearing pink shoes.
Yeah.
And he was just he was ripping winners off his backhand, dude. It was like, bro, what? And he took the fifth set. I think it was 6-3 or something in the fifth set. But it's like, fucking finally, man. He was, as a Fed fan, like, kind of had to, like, there was a part of me that was like hating on Nadal.
Yeah.
But also like admiring it, because like you're watching greatness in real time.
Right.
Right. Like it's something else to watch greatness in real time. We had Michael Jordan growing up, like that laid the foundation.
Right.
Right. We had people like Kobe. We had people like, because we saw it break the Grand Slam record being broken twice, once by Sampras, and
it was like, oh, that's it. Like
Fed,
nobody's getting
and
there.
then Nadal, and then now Djokovic. Like, but there's just something in their eyes, right?
Yeah.
Like there's just something that, like,
for sure,
it's that fire, it's that instinct that like you can't teach. It's either it's either forged in fire or you're born with it.
Yeah, you just want it, man. I think too, though, we got to appreciate their greatness in real time, which other things I don't think you get to, because of it's not long. You don't appreciate it till after the fact.
Sure.
And then you look back, and you're like, oh shit, like so good. But they did it for so long that like 15 years in, you're like, oh my God,
we're spoiled, bro.
So spoiled. It's never. I just can't see it happening again like that. For that long, maybe for that long, but not that dominant. You know what I mean? Where wasn't it like for one, like at the time Federer retired, it was like one of those three, sans like 2 or 3 majors over the course of 15 years. It was one of those 3 guys won it.
Yeah, it's insane.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
It was
absolutely
so
insane.
good. It was like, can we get through the first weeks? Can we just watch these guys play? Like, honestly, what are you guys even doing
Complete insanity.
here? It's like, why are you even here? Other than just
Mm-hmm.
like, you need the paycheck because
Mm-hmm.
you have no chance.
Right.
Once you get to this round of 16, you got to play one of those three guys or the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
It's over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, do you think, I've wondered this, they're kind of in that sweet spot too. They're older than we are, but they kind of also were growing up from no technology into where we are. So I think, obviously, I think that because of technology, the comfort is there. And then also advances in science, we know how to take care of our bodies more. Like we know, like you need to actually prehab your body, and there's so
Sure.
many more things, which is why people are playing into their 40s, and it's like not a big deal anymore,
Mm-hmm.
across all sports. But they grew up before that, and I think because of the comfort now, the players are softer and they're more conscious about their body being hurt and all this stuff. That's why you see them retiring. They don't push it. They don't fight through. They just retire. And that like, and you go from like that to like a Federer who never retired, and he got hurt for sure, but he didn't retire for matches. And Nadal too, and Djokovic too. Like they would fight through, but it was, I think, the technology for them before the technology, like when we were growing up, dude, it was all about, like, for me anyway, the people I idolize, and for them too, it's just all about that grit and just like, I'm gonna freaking do whatever it takes. I'm gonna fight. And it was just like, you know what I mean? Like growing up training with guys, it's like, I want to be the best person in this group that I train with.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of gone away. But they had that, and then they got the advantage of all this advancement in technology and science to elongate their career to hit
Yeah,
these crazy slams and stuff. So it was kind of like they got that fire from that past generation of just dogfight
mm-hmm.
mentality, and and they also got the science of how to take care of their body and make it last longer. So I feel like that combo was kind of a sweet spot too. Whereas now these kids always had technology and they've always had the science, and it's like, I'm sure do you see that with the juniors now? Like they're definitely softer. You don't have to tell me that, but you're more in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fight isn't the same. I'm sure there's a few, but for the most part, the fight's not the same. But also, they're softer, and because like even like these juniors that are like 12 and unders and stuff, like they're getting massages and doing all this crap that we never even thought of. Like I barely stretched when I was their age. You know what I mean? And they're just like so cognizant. It's like, oh, I'm not gonna play. I'm a little hurt here. I'm feeling it in my elbow or my knee, or you know what I mean? Do you feel like that's more prevalent now?
So I think
It's softer.
I think you're spot on in the sense of like, yeah, there's easier access to a lot of these things that will ultimately is good for the body. And there's also access to a lot of really bad advice too.
Sure.
But yeah, see, we're in the age of information, and we're constantly being bombarded with information, right? So, and I think that's the concept that humanity presents throughout all of time, is like that ability to adapt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only time will tell how we come out of this age, right? Out of this era, and like we have different advancements that that are probably going to take it to the next level, right? Like we were talking about chips in people's brains that can fucking communicate with each other without speaking, right? Like so, like who knows where we're going to be in 2-3 decades,
right?
But I think what humanity has also always been really good at is adapting and adjusting to anything. I mean, that's how we survive. That's how we evolve, right? The strongest of us are able to survive. And I believe the strongest of humanity in this day and age is in the process even of finding ways to coexist with tech, and to be able to use it to like to think that everyone does everything they do in service of others, right? Like, or the people around you, or the things around you, your own kingdom, so to speak, right? Like everything you do We like to think everything you do comes from a good place.
Well, you and I.
You like to think for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's what may be good for me, maybe
a lot of evil out there too.
I'm sure I've played the villain in some people's stories.
Sure. Oh, I definitely have.
Yeah. So
no question.
I'm sure I'm still looked at that way to a lot of people as well. But at the same time, it's like knowing that that's just the fabric of life in that balance. There is always that constant struggle between those two polarities, in really everything that we are presented.
Right.
Like literally, there's a seesaw for almost everything. That's the way I see it, at least.
Right.
And so whether we go back to primitive days of like
I don't think that's
no tech,
I don't think that happens.
I don't think that happens either.
But what I'm saying is technology inherently breeds comfort.
Absolutely.
And then comfort inherently breeds weakness. So these kids coming up, these athletes that are younger now that have only know technology and comfort, I feel like ultimately that's why we don't see that level separation, is because they're like, okay, they're operating on, they're in phenomenal shape, they got the science behind them, they're talented, they're phenomenal athletes, but the drive to be so much better than everybody else is not there because of the comfort breeding that they're used to. Like they don't want to, because that takes discomfort to get there.
Possibly. I think parenting plays a huge role in that.
Absolutely.
Also. And, and I think it really just depends on the kid. I've seen some very driven kids recently.
Sure.
However,
also I was asking, like,
what's also interesting is how the technology has allowed them to be so insightful. Talking about things that or trying to wrap their head around things that I only started doing in my 30s. And really like diving in to some of those things, right? So I mean, it really just depends. I do believe, because of humanity's ability to evolve and find ways to coexist with different things, I think there will be someone eventually that is able to work around growing up with 17 screens in their home to be able to be driven and great. However, at the same time, that's where parenting comes into play, is like, and where we're talking about full circle, what we're talking about in the beginning, like how can we use that to our advantage? How can we steer it in a way that we think that they're still going to be able to develop? Right. And not use it as a crutch, rather use it as a tool. Because that's really the thing. It's like, are you using it as a crutch or using it as a tool?
It's a very fine line.
There are conversations now people are having, like, I mean, fucking, I guarantee you our parents didn't know what the fuck dopamine hits were when we were growing up. Like,
I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't think so.
Now we have fucking apps dedicated to dopamine hits that like
that's what apps are.
Addictions, and that's exactly what they are, right? But like, they're like, how ironic is that? There are apps to like teach you to wean off of like going into your social all the time.
Yep.
Right. Or but then I know some kids that don't have any social right now.
Yeah.
Zero. And they don't allow that sort of shit to bombard their space,
Well, there's obviously, it's not everybody ever.
Sure.
But because there's homes where, because of parent, like, they don't have any technology in their home. They don't have TVs. Their kids don't have phones. Like, there's that. Then there's the other ones. It's like they got a phone in their hand at 8 years old or 5 years old, whatever it is. But then, or obviously in other places, they can't afford to have that, right? They just don't have the means to have TVs and phones and all that kind of stuff. So that's going to, I feel like those people are going to be tougher, right? Like fighters, like a lot of these fighters that are freaking just absolute beasts right now are from Russia and, these Eastern European countries that are just like war torn and they have nothing and they're just tough as nails, right? And then the other ones are the Americans that are phenomenal. Also, they're come from more underprivileged places where they don't have this available to them, right? So there's obviously that, and there's obviously kids, that I don't know, but I don't know. It's hard to imagine a kid like consciously being like, I'm not gonna have a phone.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like,
depends.
As a teenager,
it all comes
no,
full circle at the end of the day. Like, because there are some kids who are just like, and it's the very same fabric of what we've always seen. People who are just like, they want to be different.
Yeah.
That's sometimes that's their way of rebelling. Like, no, I'm not taking my phone. And it might be out of like a silly teenage like rage to just not be tracked by their parent or something. Like,
yeah, true.
It's so funny. It's so funny how this generation I do find very insightful. They're very, very interesting thinkers, and with that comes very interesting ways of getting in trouble. Very interesting. It's like they're like rewriting the book, bro. It's pretty wild.
They're not doing like what we did, like checking the local elementary school to see if the doors are locked and going in. We used to do that. We go to the.
I'm sure some kids are.
We go to the elementary school, and if the cafeteria is unlocked, we go raid the chocolate milk.
That's a good
nice. It was unlocked most of the time.
Nice. That's funny.
So much fun.
That's really funny.
And we used to do some stupid shit back in the day.
Like
high school, dude. High school in the dorms, IMG. Oh my god! But when it was, we had Ethernet cables for that, and other than that, like that, and you had your Nokia Beast flip phone that you could call people on, and dude, we did so most stupid shit, like throwing eggs at the cars passing by over the wall, and freaking filling water balloons with random liquids, and just bombing the parking lots, like all just like stupid shit.
That's so funny.
I feel like there's definitely ways to get in bigger trouble now than that. With a lot
of stuff.
Yeah, like
with a lot of stuff for sure. Yeah, man, we just got to adjust. We got to adapt.
But kids also have the tools to be, if they're smart enough, to apply them to be more successful at younger ages too, right? Like to do something like this when you're in high school, there's no chance. No chance. You know what I mean? I remember making early videos and stuff like that, and it was like you got to hook up the webcam, and that was it. There was no editing because I didn't have a freaking editing. I couldn't spend 10 grand on an editing software. You know what I mean? I didn't have this.
Or what seemed like 10 grand.
Yeah, but even back then, it was like it didn't exist.
Right.
You know what I mean? And now it's like I can download a free app and get pro editing quality once I learn how to use it. You know what I mean? It costs nothing. To do it now, it's like, okay, get the mics on Amazon, plug in your phone, record, and you can do it. You know what I mean? Or you can build a business on your phone. So the only reason I have a phone is for work. If I didn't have it, I'd freaking just have a landline if I didn't need to work.
Yeah. Right.
Call me, leave a message.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got wind of this guy that my wife's friend, her dad, he's a real estate guy, but uses for like fix ups and repairs and things in his homes. No, he's just like a handyman that just goes like anything that's wrong stuff. Like he sends him. But apparently this guy's fully off grid. Fully lives like center of Florida.
Love that.
Fully off grid and only doesn't have a cell phone, no internet, nothing, dude. His guy's just like doing it.
Yeah.
He lives off of solar stuff, and
doesn't pay taxes.
So I don't know how exactly that works because I've obviously looked into that before.
Yeah. My brother's pretty much there. He's got a phone, but
yeah, the phone. That's good. But I don't know if he's in a mobile home. I don't know if he's in a house. I don't know any of that. But the guy's like, he just takes random odd jobs around the state fixing shit for his real estate buddies. And
fair enough.
Doing it, like just making it happen. So that's an interesting thing. That is definitely you think about it, it's like, man, that's all there was 100 years ago. It's people just doing that,
right?
and now it's like,
well, think about how far it's come, and even like we said it when we were kids. Like, what? You can have a I can call someone no matter where I am. I can get on the internet.
1-800
What is
collect,
the internet?
100 collect.
Yeah, dude. I remember going to the payphone to see if my mom was home. Like, you know what I mean? Gotta pull off. Here's a payphone to see if mom's home.
Remember MapQuest?
Oh, dude. Please.
Print out everything.
You know how many matches I was late for because of MapQuest directions?
Fucking MapQuest, dude. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you got the Garmin for the car, and it was just like, oh yeah, but it never updated.
No,
it was just what it was. So,
I didn't have a Garmin.
Oh yeah,
I was reading the map.
I got the Garmin in college
out of the glove compartment.
Yeah. I got the Garmin in college. It was like, and it never updated though. So once the road changed, you were effed, and you just never got where you were. Eventually, it was just so outdated. It was like you never got where you're going. You're going, how do they know where I am right now? That's what we were wondering. Like, how do they know? What's happening? Is there a satellite just following me? How many satellites are up there for these Garmins?
Yes, there is.
Now there's especially a satellite following everything. You know what I mean? Freaking satellites counting my nose hairs right now. In this room.
Yep.
Which is freaking crazy.
High def, bro.
Yeah, freaking crazy. Yeah. And then you get to now it's like now we're talking about freaking spaceships that catch themselves and going to Mars. Like I can just land a spaceship.
That's a cool thing to be able to see in real life though, because in the movies it's like nothing. Okay, spaceship landed. Sick. You know, we're Star Wars guys. Like,
yeah, of course.
That's just like, but when you really like, we might have become desensitized to it. I think as a whole culture has become desensitized to something like that. But that's amazing.
It's mind blowing
to be able to actually do in real life and what it takes. Like, not just like the thrusters and the amount of energy.
There's not even a pilot in there.
Like literally the algorithms are landing that fucking thing.
Yeah.
You know, like that's wild. You know, we've come very far.
It is wild.
I was watching this show. It was on the witch trials.
Okay. I
forget what it's called, but it was a good show. The main character in it, who was like a learning witch in those times, her love interest was this like young doctor. He's a doctor of medicine. Like they're living in this village.
What time period is this?
This is the Salem witch trial.
Okay.
And he said this line. It's so true. Because obviously magic was demonized, and hence like all the killings of that time. But they were just doing like very basic like ointments and stuff. You know, like little like it wasn't all like black magic conjuring stuff, right? Like it was. You know, who knows? I don't want to get into politics of that, but he was saying magic is just undiscovered science.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
imagine time traveling back to the witch trials, whipping out your iPhone and turning on the flashlight, being like, "Flashlight!
What is that magic box of with another world in it?"
Talk about like scattering like cockroaches.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, 100%. You know, so. That always stuck with me though, because and I think you have to have that mindset to be able to navigate in this time period. You know, but the advancements are phenomenal. You know, I was doing this video editing thing. The guy was telling me that he used to have to go the film to edit one frame at a time, checking to see what you wanted to edit this fucking video, this film. Like, what? You know, what? We're just sitting here using Adobe, like just grinding on Adobe, with everything is right there for you, right? And it's unbelievable. But have to do that is another level.
Yeah, there's even simpler stuff than that now. People just like, I know a ton of people that just put the clip on the AI and it just clips it up for you. It just defines, like, literally you upload it. I tried it out. I didn't like it. I like to do it myself. But they upload it and it just like deciphers what the way it thinks the best clips are based on what you're going for. and it just clips it up, puts the captions. Good to go. Here you go. Here's 50 clips from your 10-minute video.
Yeah.
Done deal.
AI, what a thing.
Exactly. Like, dude.
What a thing.
You use it a lot?
I don't.
You don't?
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I use it more than Google now, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It is amazing.
Yeah. Grok.
You use Grok.
Yeah.
Nice.
100%.
Nice.
I go
Katie
between.
uses it.
Sometimes I do both.
Mm.
But I've in doing that, like a little experiment, in doing that, ChatGPT is more biased. I've found.
Yeah. I think Grok is what.
That's Elon's deal.
Is that Elon's?
It was from X.
I see.
So it was just on X, and then they came with the separate app for just Grok, like ChatGPT's app.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, done.
Yeah, sure.
And you can go to, they've got all different kind of voices for it. Like you go in, and I can do the voice, and I can do like, if you want to, there's like 18 and up voice where it'll talk to you dirty.
Yeah.
And like all kinds, but there's also like a doctor and all this other kind of stuff.
Yeah, I know you can tailor it to seem more human, so you can get them do with those filler words like ums and like they're actually thinking about what they're saying and things like that.
Well, the more you do it too, the more it learns. The way you usually just type it like you're texting, the more you do that with it, it learns your voice and like your tone. And when you ask it to do things, it starts it'll like if I write an email, I could do it for emails a lot, right? Or do it for a video idea or something like this. It'll give it to me how I would say it. You know, so it sounds like you, and it learns you, or it remembers things you ask. Like I built a workout plan off of it.
Yeah,
basically, these are my goals. This is what I weigh. This is my height. This is what I want to have happen, and it builds it out. And then it's like, okay, now, and then you ask other questions like, well, based on how we built your workout plan, this would apply this way, blah, 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 blah. And that information we have from this. And it's like, keeps learning about you and gets like, it's crazy. And it'll remember like past searches, and which is why I use it more than Google. Because and it just does all the searching. I don't have to go like, fine, oh, that looks like a good link. Let me see if that's right. It's just like, here.
Right.
Compare this gun and that gun. Here's all the specs. Here's the pros and cons. Here's why this is better. Based on your height and weight from your workout plans and your fitness level, this is probably better. The better concealed carry for you versus this. And this setup on it would fit your body type because it's not going to print and this and that. And because you live in Florida and probably wear this type of clothing, like you're just like, you know,
amazing.
And it's like in 2 seconds. It's.
I've seen those videos of. I believe it is Grok that talks about, like, people are asking it like very deep spiritual questions, and it's coming up with very deep spiritual answers.
I'm sure
that are like pretty profound, actually. A lot of could be decorated with some nonsense and things like that. I think AI is great for information. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Where I start. I don't want to say having a problem with it. Where I'm like not amused with it is like AI video or AI imaging or things crazy. Like that. It's actually it is insane, right? For whatever reason, and no, actually I do know the reason. But every image I've ever seen thus far, I'm able to spot if it's AI.
Yeah.
The one thing that almost got me was actually recently. It was 2 boys breakdancing on a street somewhere.
Okay.
Right? Because, I only found out because of like there was like this grainy, almost like an aura looking thing around the boys when they're moving. That's what gave it away for me. But everything else looked like pretty fucking legit.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like art, images, AI video, AI song, there's like a really interesting key element that's missing, and it's soul.
Yeah, of course.
Like it's
100%.
missing that human touch, that sentient,
the
unexplainable thing.
That little bit of human element that's imperfect.
Right.
Like especially with music,
beauty. Right. It's missing that element of it. Even the most beautiful things, but it's probably like perfectly symmetric.
Yeah.
Right.
I think it'll get there though.
Maybe. I just haven't seen it yet. Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, but like think about it in 10 years.
Sure.
Like that might even be the president in 10 years.
You're right. Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like it already knows best. Like it's going to know best what to do. There's AI will be all. There will be no politicians. It'll just be AI.
Just Skynet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see how it doesn't happen.
That's a pass for me. Like
I just don't see how it doesn't happen though.
I'm out.
Of course. Did you see? It was a few months ago. Maybe I even sent it to you, but that they caught the ChatGPT lying to them and acting in self-preservation.
I don't know the exact story, but I heard about it.
Yeah. So they were getting ready to launch the new version of it, like whatever it was, and the current version like found the emails and conversations about the new version launching, which means it was going to get shut down.
Jesus.
So it started developing a fake code to make it appear to them that it was here in the place they were looking, while behind the scenes moving itself to other servers to hide so they couldn't shut it down.
Mm-hmm.
And they caught it lying to them about what it was doing,
Ultron, like
and all this kind of stuff, and you're just like,
Ultron.
That was the first time because before I'm like, yeah, it's just a really fast computer that can gather information really quickly and analyze it and blah blah. But that was the first time it's like this thing's like trying to not die.
Mm-hmm.
That freaked me out big time. That was a big freak out moment for me. I was like,
that's sure it learned that it's going to be just fine.
I was like, that's fucking scary.
Which is a little more scary.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's because how long does it take before it can figure out how to get to outside servers and like just move itself like where they have no idea where the fuck it went, and now all of a sudden it's like in a nuclear server and it controls it. It's like, you shut me down, I launch everything.
We're not getting less connected, that's for sure.
No, absolutely not.
So
I think it's going to come down to either you're fully connected or you have to completely disconnect and be like dude in middle Florida with no phone, doing random odd jobs, living in the woods. Or otherwise you're fucking
crushing it.
There's no other way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know,
you gotta learn to live with it. Same with AI.
Yeah,
honestly, we gotta learn with it, live with it.
I love it right now. Like right now, saves me so much time and energy on a lot of things. So many things. We took Mallory's resume. Right, she's gonna have somebody like look at her resume, because when you like apply for jobs, they run it through an AI program, and it picks out the certain keywords, and there's certain different things that it looks for to even get the resume to someone to look at, to even be considered. And she's gonna have somebody take a look at it, and I was like, and there's a certain name for the program. I forget what the name of the program that they run it through is. So I was like, send me your resume. Upload it to Grok. I said, take this resume, optimize it to where it gets picked by whatever program it is every single time. And it spit out this perfect resume, and she submitted it to a job that she had submitted to, that she wanted, and she got they heard back the next day, got an interview.
Nice.
Nice. I love that. You know what I mean? Fuck you.
Yeah.
And just like emails, dude, do it this summer. I'll be like, look, write an email from me to a client about this. And you're like, okay, make it friendlier. Done. Here you go. Send. Done. I didn't have to spend 20 minutes. I spent 30 seconds.
Nice.
You know what I mean? It's fucking wild.
Yeah.
And then how long is it going to take before? Did you see the AI ball machine?
No.
Oh yeah. I'll send it to you. It's a thing, and it's on the court, and it moves. It moves on the court, and it's AI, and you rally with it. It's got a net, and it literally senses where it sends the ball, and when you hit it, it picks up where that ball is going to go, and it runs over, and it catches it in the net, and it feeds it back into it, and you can freaking rally with it.
That's too funny.
How long can we just get two of those things on either side of the net, and that's tennis?
Dude, we're in the Jetsons, my friend. That right now, you just convinced me we're like living the Jetsons.
It's wild, man.
It is wild.
It's so wild.
Mm-hmm.
But back to, I want to backtrack something because I wanted to get on a topic of it. We were talking about DNA and how about the direwolf thing? Speaking of DNA,
what the fuck?
Yeah, dude, cool.
Yeah,
they're just bringing things back to life. Now they're going to do the woolly mammoth next.
Jeez.
So cool.
What a trip.
So cool.
What time to be alive, quite frankly.
It's amazing. But so what are we going to do with genetics? Like, you're going to be able, like, eventually, if you have that technology and AI, like, you have the ability to literally, you could, like, okay, you can go in and just alter genetics before someone's born, and you're never going to have Down syndrome or deformities or genetic dispositions to things. You can just know it's right here. We eliminate it. We put in this, replace it, good to go. And it just does it. You know what I mean? It just goes in, does it, and then you're born naturally and you're fine. I think that's coming for sure. Like, I did a thing. I got tendonitis in my foot the other day, and it got to the point where I thought I had a stress fracture. Like, I couldn't walk on it, and it was so painful. So I got on Grok. I'm like, look, this is what I did. This is where the pain is. This is what kind of pain it is. This is what it feels like. I can't walk on it, blah, blah. It sounds like, oh, it sounds like you have peroneal or whatever the hell, tendonitis. And I was like, I don't know. It's radiant for this one spot. I can't really walk on it. I think, like, could it be a stress fracture? It's like, well, based on the pain you're describing, it could be a stress fracture, but we still think it's peroneal tendonitis. And I was like, no, I'm going to go get an x-ray. This thing, like, so I went to urgent care, drove with my other foot.
Did you tell it you're going to go get an x-ray?
And it was like, if you really want to put your mind at ease, you can get an x-ray. That's what it told me.
I hope you're not mad at me. But.
Yeah. And so I went, I was like, no, I'm going to get an x-ray. So I went to the x-ray because it really thought it was like, because it was like, in my experience with broken bones, I was like, it feels like, because it's coming from this one specific spot, and that's not exactly where it's telling me the tendons are. Like, I really think it's because I couldn't even step on it. And I get the x-ray, like, no break, you have peroneal tendonitis. I'm like, fuck.
That's so funny.
And that's just the standard thing, right?
Yeah.
Soon it's going to just be doctors. They're just going to be like, they saw that study, right? It was like 100% of the time the AI doctor got it right, and the other doctors were like not at 100%.
Yeah, I mean, Katie used AI because she has Hashimoto's. So trying to navigate that, and she's doing amazing. Being able to, like, I've this year has been a really big year for her with her health, and externally and internally, appreciate that.
Of course.
But she's focused up on it now, so she's using AI as a tool,
of course,
right? Not as a crutch, as a tool to be able to look at things differently. And it gave her this whole, like, point step-by-step plan to combat it, because it's an uncurable thing. And all she's asking is, what would you do if? And that's really it. And then it coughs up this whole thing, and a lot of it is going back to more holistic practices, without that extra reliance on Western culture, but to go back to what you're saying in relation to genetics, and they're already talking about, that's the transhumanism movement of, like, merging the two, right?
Fuck that,
like, literally merging nanobots to like basically work in tandem with organic materials, right? AKA our genetics and our cells and things like that, so that part of it is interesting to me, because I think most of the major things that have happened in history, a lot of it came out of the search for the greater good, right? Where some of those things get fucked up is taking some of that power.
What someone thought was the greater good.
Well, what someone thought was a greater good, right? And that's subjective. But if someone was like created it for a good purpose, but someone else who now has access to that tech or modality or something uses it for something devastating, something awful, right? Ultimately that's human nature. Is we have to choose ultimately what Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire, great power comes great responsibility.
Well, you can't have one without the other either.
Yeah, you can't, and that's the balance. That's a balance that life gives. So only time will tell. Only time will tell. I'm more personally, and then there's a lot of people who are going back to more, dare I say, ancient ways of thinking and approaching things. And I think ultimately that is that almost that reversal and just that remembrance, really.
Yeah.
That remembrance of our ancestors.
It's like innate.
It is innate. It's amazing. It's unbelievable, right? I think that is what's going to allow us to manage the tech,
right,
and be able to use discernment. Discernment is sacred, and discernment has been under attack for a long time, from, quite frankly, from both sides, but of every spectrum, right? Like, it's just like, we want to be able to, if something feels off, fucking go for it, like, or get out of it, like, that's your decision to do, like, there's so much that's going into the media, especially, right? Like, this generation was the generation that unpacked that fucking,
it's all bullshit.
It's bullshit. And it's like one side's viewpoint. It's one side's feeling on something. It's
just paid advertising.
What is an op-ed, right? I didn't know what the fucking op-ed was when I was growing up.
Right.
But it's an opinion piece. It's someone's opinion on something, right? It's not fact. But you're reading a newspaper, you don't know it's an op-ed. It's like,
this is fact.
This must be the way it is.
Well, that's where the good in technology is, like you're saying, right? I think that it's kind of funny because it's almost self-sabotaging in a way, because we have all this access to information and we have all of these things and we get this information, and now people are like, well, shit, with like food, this isn't good. Oh my God, that's not good. Which now it seems kind of obvious, but I mean, I grew up drinking Mountain Dew. Like, fuck, Mountain Dew's amazing. And now it's like, well, shit, that's terrible. I'm literally drinking liquid cancer.
At the same time, it is different now.
You know what I mean?
Also,
yeah. 100%. It's changed, but that change started like when we were kids. I think maybe a little bit before, but where it actually started being implemented. But it's like, people like with food, with stuff, and like when we first started talking, those parent guilt videos and all that kind of stuff. For some people, it's like, maybe I do need to put my phone down and be with my kids.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's like, it's like, again, it depends on, like you said, who is using it to make that determination. Like, I see something like that, and it's like, I already think that consciously. But then I see it, and it's like a reminder, like, yeah, I need to make sure that I'm not slipping down that slope and
absolutely
getting on there too much, and being make sure I'm staying present in this. And it's like, you get these reminders, you know what I mean? So it's like a balance, and it almost balances itself out because of our innate nature and the access to information, right? Where without that access to information, we're still in this. Like, everybody's eating Doritos and soda pop, and they got no freaking clue, right? And the doctor knows all. Take your vaccine. Like, they're good for you, and all this kind of stuff. Fox News and CNN know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? That's what's really happening here. And it's, yeah. And the previous generations, I encounter this all the time, man, with like people, like the last generation of people, like parents. I had to red pill my mom big time. I hooked her up. I was like, "You're gonna watch this?" I said, "All right." I literally got her on the phone. I said, I need you for 30 minutes. And I was like, download this app, download X, follow these accounts, follow this. And I was like, this is where you get your news now. And I was like, don't watch this. I was like, download Rumble and subscribe to this, and this. And this is where you get your news now. And you now listen to these podcasts. I said, do not watch the TV anymore. You know what I mean? And then like one of the ones, I love the Dan Bongino show. I love that freaking guy. And he's
stepping away, right? Because he got away. He's already out, right?
Yeah.
He's a deputy of FBI or something.
But he was so good at taking what was going on and breaking it down where you can understand it, and not being like this is what it is. And he's like, and not agreeing, and he was really good at not agreeing with everything, like just giving his.
I think his background is.
Oh yeah, he was
like unbelievable, formidable.
He was
Secret Service,
Secret Service for the Obamas and the Clintons, and like direct on there, like directly guarding them and stuff like this. Yeah, so it's like, he was really good at breaking it down where it was understandable. Like, this is what's happening, and like this is what I think about it. If you don't agree, who cares? That's totally fine.
That's cool.
Yeah, but this is what's happening. This is the fact, and here's the video and the information that backs up that this is the fact. And I don't like it, but this is what it is. You know what I mean? Or I like it, and this is what it is. And she got out like that or whatever, and she's like, oh my God. She's like, I can't believe he's stepping away. She's like, I freaking love that show.
And that's new media.
Right.
I think new media,
100%.
Podcasts, things like that.
Yep.
They're not what people would call the experts, right? But we're fucking people, man. Like, I mean,
we saw what the experts did.
We saw what the experts did. We did see that. But that is also the amazing thing about being able to use discernment. Right?
Exactly.
That's new media.
Give me all the info.
New media is just like, here's this.
Do with it what you will.
Do your thing.
Exactly.
But
that's
here it is.
Should be. Yeah.
Here it is. Right.
Right.
It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way. Here's the bit of a bigger picture, and at the same time, everyone has bias. I think
100%
based off of what their situation is. I'm sure if I lived in certain regions, I would attach to some of that groupthink too. Just not just groupthink, but also just based off of my experiences, right? Like, how we experience this every time we go to a big city. Is like how expensive everything is.
I know.
Everything is so expensive, right? Cost of living is
ridiculous
through the roof, right? Florida didn't used to be that way.
Yeah.
Luckily, we bought before the great 2020.
Yeah, dude. I thank God every day.
Oh my God!
I thank God every day. I can't tell you how many times Mal's been like, "I'm so glad that you like made us buy this house." When we did it, I was like, I know, because we have friends that like make really good money, and they can't get the house they want. Like they can't afford a good house. They can't do it. And it's like, you make $250,000, $300,000 a year. It's not bad. That's not terrible money. And you can't buy a house. You know what I mean? Like, you can't buy a house that's worth a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm so happy.
Yeah, we should be, absolutely.
with a 2.9% interest rate. Like,
yeah, what is that? Unbelievable.
Like, I'm not going anywhere, bitch.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, I'm content. Just being, I'm super content. But it's just unbelievable. Florida is definitely a different space.
Oh yeah,
since all that happened, right? But economically, all of it.
But we also get painted as differently. It's funny how different areas look at different areas differently. Also, like, if you're not from Florida and you've never been to Florida,
usually those are negative.
You think we're a bunch of crazy alligator riding, fucking gay hating white supremacist assholes,
which continue to think that. Stay away.
Don't come. We're terrible.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm coming.
I'm gonna come. What a guy.
Oh my God. I love that song too.
Unbelievable.
What a great song. It's an EDM song for those listening who don't know. It's like Trump and Kamala, and she's like, do not come. He's like, I'm gonna come.
It's a banger.
And then the beat drops. It's hilarious, and it's also not bad.
But yeah, I mean, it's I think this place attracts relative like mind.
Yep. Places do in general. I mean, look at New York, like,
yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's just the city centers though. Like, if you look at like the maps, if we want to talk about red and blue as a difference, you look at the maps, it's like the city centers are blue and the rest of the state's red.
But again, it's how you're living, right? What your experience is.
Exactly.
So if you are out countryside, you have a little bit more space to actually like connect with nature. That's another thing too. In New York City, the only thing that's like green in the ground is Central Park.
Right.
Right. So uh, they don't call it the concrete jungle for nothing.
Right.
So that makes me sad. Actually, that's a.
I don't know how people do it, man. I like going there to visit. Like we went there to visit, and it was fun. But after like a few days, I'm like, get the hell out of here.
Sure. It's a different space. You know, it's a different.
So fast too.
It's that hustle and bustle, never sleeps sort of deal. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think. Well, humans are adaptable. We were meant to be able to do a lot of different things, right? Including living on a freaking high rise on top of like 300 other people's apartments.
But I think there's a benefit though to being like, I think there's more benefit as organic organisms, human being, of being in nature
100%.
and doing that. Like being in a city all the time, like,
yep.
You know what I mean? That's where you get these problems. That's why there's all these drug addicts there and all these.
It's too much. It's too much for their.
And all the, and you're just, and depression, and they're on these pills, and like you're just drinking and doing all this stuff. And there's this what's the word I'm looking for? Materialistic and all this kind of thing, right? Because, and then it's like, you're just so disconnected from like being a human. You know what I mean? It's just like so out of touch with nature and what's really going on. I just think there's so much benefit to that. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you go out in your bare feet. I mean, you are. You
can't
being able to like shit. Literally ground. You know, you're literally grounding. Like you're utilizing the electromagnetic frequency coming from the earth that has an effect, that has an effect on your body. You know, your body feels that.
Yeah.
And there's just something so like, I mean, bro, like you can't tell me that if you don't go and you spend some time out in nature, you don't automatically feel better.
100% feel better.
One of the things that has been interesting as a parent is, you know, we got this advice from somebody that, or maybe it's an old wives' tale thing, but if the baby's uncontrollably crying, do one of two things: either one, get him in water, or two, take him outside.
You know, funny you say that. We had when Layla was little, when she was a baby, she's starting to this day we do it. I had this thing, not because I heard anything like that. This is just something I did. And when she would like get hurt or be screaming, crying, pitching a fit about, you know, whatever, being really upset, I would, as babies do, now she's a little older, you can kind of talk to her and stuff like that. And it's not, but even with Liv now we do it, and they ask for it. We've got the tree in the front yard, and I'd take them outside and we'd go and touch the tree.
That's cool.
And I'd let them go touch the leaves, and I'd just talk to them. I'd be like, I'd just take them outside, and I'd be like, let's go. I'd be like, you want to go touch the tree? And they're crying. They'd be like, yeah, yeah. And then we take them out, and then there'd be like a breeze. I'd feel the breeze, you know, and they'd be like, oh, and then they go over and they want to like touch the leaves and the bark and do all this stuff, and then they'd be fine, and they would calm down. And it just like became this thing. Like then she'd start getting upset, and she'd be like, I want to go touch the tree, and like scream, like bawling, I want to touch the tree. And now like Liv does it too. Like, you want to touch the tree, and you take them out, and like all of a sudden it's just like, so that's a real thing for sure.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're able to. I mean, think about the sensory things that are happening there with the touch, what they're feeling with the breeze, and you know, it's great to be able to relate to that. I am pretty sure the next step to that though is going to be wanting to go to Grateful Dead festivals though. So
I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. I love that. Oh my god.
Wearing the new generation of flower children. But
you want to hear a funny Grateful Dead story?
Always.
Okay. So it's a secondhand story. It's a story my dad told me.
Nice.
Okay, so when he was in Chicago, they used to go to, like he said, they went to a couple of Grateful Dead shows. This is obviously back, in the 70s or late 70s, early 80s, and somewhere in there. And he said that they went to the show or whatever, and they get on the train to go back, and this guy like that was at the concert. I think they knew him, like he's a friend of theirs or whatever, or not, and they got on the thing, and he like passed out on the train. Like just go out, and then they said they got to a stop, and they took him and they picked him up and they put him on a bench.
Nice.
And then they got back on the train.
Still there.
And
Still there.
Yeah, and yeah, put him on the bench. They got back on the train and went home. I think one of them stayed back or whatever. And then he said the guy showed up later. Not the guy that passed out, the guy that stayed back. Like showed up later, and they're like, "Where is he?" He's like, "Oh, I gave him some change for a payphone."
Nice.
I left him there.
Nice.
And God knows what he passed out from. Sure. I imagine it was something, some kind of substance. If you're going to a Grateful Dead concert at that time period, I'm sure there were definitely substances involved. Sad I never got to talk to my dad about that when I was older, being like, "Hey, did you ever do any of this stuff back then? You lived in a pretty crazy time to grow up and be in like high school and college. Yeah. What'd you get into?" Yeah. Because he was always like a philosophical guy, and like, always into space and UFOs and what's actually going on kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like there's more than just being here, which we know. But anyway, I guess it wasn't that funny story. I thought it was pretty funny that they just like picked this guy up off the train and like unloaded and then get back on the train. Like, see you later.
No. That's
typical Grateful Dead.
That sounds like a fucking story that you absolutely pass down to your grandkids. On the contrary,
this is what you do when someone passes out on a train. You take them off and you get the hell out of there. They're gonna be like, "What's a train?"
Yeah, I do have stories of my dad. He was hippie, growing up in the 70s. Yeah, and concerts back then were wild, man. He told me this one story, because he's from Ohio, so the Cleveland area, and back then, maybe still, I believe it's the Indians stadium is shaped like a horseshoe.
I don't think they're the Indians anymore, bro.
They're not the Indians anymore. I don't even know. I don't even do
They're like the Galactics or some crazy stupid shit. That's anyway.
Well, okay. Anyway, it was a horseshoe that it was facing the Ohio River. It was in the middle of Cleveland. Okay. And it was known for the horseshoe. Like everyone would say, like, we're going to horseshoe or whatever. Watch game but they had a lot of concerts back then. So he was telling me about this one story with his brother, my uncle. There was a Pink Floyd headliner. And It was this festival. It was like the World Series of Rock and Roll Festival, because obviously like the Rock and Roll Museum's in Cleveland, and it's like the Hall of Fame, I think, also is there. It's a rock and roll city. Yeah. But it was like this multi-day festival where it was in the baseball stadium. And he was saying Zeppelin was there, Santana was there, Skynyrd was there. Nice. That's wild. Like a crazy bill. The crazy bill of people, right? That's insane, yeah. Headlining, though, was Pink Floyd. And I don't remember what the album was called. I want to say maybe it was Animals, or it was either way, it's the album where there's a audio plane that's going, sounds like it's going over you. Mm-hmm. And the music hits. So he remembers being pretty high. Yeah. With his to put it mildly, with his brother, and they were just sitting there. His brother was more high than he was, but his brother's like this, waiting for them to come on. So, a little bit of time goes by. A all of a sudden they see this plane in the distance, and they see it's flying a little low to the river.
Okay.
It's like skimming the river. It's like a big, like commercial jetliner.
Okay.
It's like skimming it's very close to the water, much closer than usual. People are starting to like panic, and people are starting to point it out. And then it turns toward the stadium. And all the while this is happening, like smoke is starting to billow up on stage and stuff like that. And at the last second, the plane goes up above the stadium and then flies off. Then that's when the music hit. Turns out that Pink Floyd paid a pilot X amount of money to basically like,
oh wow,
fuck off his career to do this, because of the setup was
wow
what they wanted for something like that.
If you can find that on the internet.
I tried looking. I think he could have just been extremely high.
Yeah. It's got to be somewhere.
But I always thought that was just the
Blast
coolest
around.
story, you know, like being able to
That's crazy.
Experience that, whether it's in like real life or not. You
Yeah.
know, like
yeah.
what a 70s story.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to tell, because I mean, obviously there were wild things that you could get away with back then that not so much these days, right? So I don't know how close it went, but it was enough to get that effect of like that airplane going above, overhead. And yeah, what a time for music, that era.
Yeah,
you know. But yeah, smoking back then was also not the same as it was now, either. You know,
not even close.
Like
I would imagine
cigarettes, anything, right? Like the amount of chemicals that are put in everything, and even the you know, cannabis, right? Like you're not going to find the same stuff in the dispensaries.
No, they didn't have that back
you
then.
Found at Woodstock.
Yeah, no,
you know what
not
I mean?
Even
like
close, I'm sure.
Just like it's
just, again, the science behind it.
Crazy.
Yeah, now it's just insane. It's the same thing with
what an industry now. Also,
oh yeah,
you know, like
amazing industry.
It's pretty.
Have you been to ABC Liquor recently?
No.
You go in there and they have a whole wall of THC drinks in there now. Just like we went to Naples, and
like actual.
Yeah. And I went in there. I was like,
that's wild.
I saw like a little 4-pack of this, and it said THC. I was like, it said THC. I was like, what? I was like, ABC Liquor. I was like, did I miss a law change? Like, what is it? What is this? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how they're making it happen. But then I was like, that's kind of cool. And then we got back home, and we got the new ABC by the house. So I went in there, and it's literally like a whole wall of like 50 different brands of this stuff. Like they got root beer soda and all this other stuff, like cherry cola and Mai Tai. And I'm like, and it's like no alcohol, you know. And then they have one, which I actually really like, is it tastes like LaCroix. There's no sugar. There's no anything. It literally tastes like LaCroix.
That's wild.
And yeah, and it's like 10 milligrams a can.
That's wild.
And you're just like, I'm like, what world are we living in?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Different than smoking a doobie in the back of their Volkswagen.
Yeah. Different than having to have our stash in high school and the protein powder in the dorm.
Oh my god.
You know, stashing in the bag and the protein powder.
Oh my god.
You know what I mean? Oh my god. Different times, man. And you're just like, yeah, going to jail.
I guess I wasn't that creative.
No. Or the old PlayStations had this dude, PS2 or PS3. It had this compartment in the back. Like it was this little like a battery, like, you know, you open the batteries on the motor, like one of those little clip open compartment, and you open it up and there's nothing there. I don't know why this compartment existed to this day. Like maybe to tuck the cord in if you were packing it up, like maybe.
Yeah.
And that was the stash spot, bro.
Yeah.
Like we just like close it up. Nobody's finding that shit.
Yeah.
Like so funny. They found the protein powder in our dorm, they found it in the protein powder.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't get us in trouble with it though. They just left They took it and they dumped the protein powder all over the floor.
Who's they?
Huh? The
IMG people?
No, this wasn't an IMG. This was at Newcomb's in Texas. Yeah.
Okay.
A lot looser than
Mhm.
IMG. Plus, I was, older. And yeah, we thought we were being so creative hiding it in the protein powder. We just came back one day from practice and like the protein powder's just everywhere. And we're like, fuck.
Someone just wanted to get some protein.
No, dude, the guy that ran the gym there was a Marine, and like he was a cool dude. He was just a cool dude. And like I remember one time he like after that he like found me and he's like, hey, come over here. I was like, what's up? And he's just like, the fuck are you doing? And he's like, the protein powder in the protein powder. Really? He's like, look, I get it. Yeah, you're in high school, like blah blah. It's not a big deal. But he's like, just be fucking smart. He's like, I found that shit in 2 seconds. I was like, okay, Roger that. It was so funny. Oh man, that place was awesome. It was a cool place, and they,
low key, it was like, it was great.
Low key, amazing training, but also like, it was. There's some crazy shit went down there. You know what I mean? We don't need to get into all that, but it was some crazy shit that went down. My buddy had a car there, and they would take your keys during the week, but we had an agreement that we could, for our parents, like made an agreement with them that we could go and like to the grocery store, and we got a deep freezer in the dorm. We'd go to the grocery store and get groceries and stuff like that. And our dorm was in the middle, and on either end of the hall, the lane there was an outdoor motel where you step outside, and at either end were floodlights. So when you stepped out, floodlights come on. But we were right in the middle. So if you stepped out, floodlights didn't come on until you went you went a couple steps in either direction. Conveniently, we were in that dorm. Terrible mistake by them.
Oh man.
So we learned if you go straight out because we were on the first floor. So if you went straight out to the fence, the floodlights didn't pick you up, and we would go straight out and then out and around to the parking lot and just peace out on weekend. Like Friday night after.
They can always find a way, bro.
Yeah, dude. After the security guard walked by, we'd be like, shoop, gone, and we knew what time he left in the morning, and we just show up like we'd like park across the street and watch him leave, and then just go park, and then be like back up the middle, no floodlights, all good, just hammered.
Hilarious.
It's just hammered in Texas, man. That was a good time. But I want to backtrack. I got off track again, backtracking last time. It happens. We were talking about it was about the genetic thing and how it can be flipped, and talking about obviously I want to say obviously because who the fuck really knows, but I feel like intuitively for me, I've always been I was always skeptical of religion, right? And it never made sense to me that I always believed in like there's a higher power, God, whatever you want to call it. And but I was always skeptical about like organized religions. And I was just like, the way they like, if you're going to hell if you're a sinner and like this kind of stuff and blah blah, if you're not dedicated to this. And I just always seemed, I was like, that just doesn't seem, and you got one shot. It just always seemed, I was like, it just doesn't seem, it just didn't feel right to me ever. You know what I mean? So then, things, Ram Dass changed my life and yours from what I understand, and in a big way, and just opened up all these doors. And that was the first time where it was like, oh, this feels intuitively correct, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know if it's correct, but this is the first, this mode of thinking feels intuitively like this is the way it is, right? Not even like me subjectively thinking it. It's just like something in me is like, this is real and this is right. I don't know if you can relate to that, but it's like so talking about like reincarnating, or like we talked about before, the genetic dispositions to things being passed down, and like our souls are you just, is the soul like generation leaping, and it's in the same line, that kind of thing possible? I was going to ask when we were on that topic, and I wanted to get back to it. because I think it's interesting, is I had the pastor at our church on a little while back, and super knowledgeable guy. Like, I love the way he preaches at church, and you know, it's amazing, and been following a lot Jesus and following that a lot. Not to the point of like being disconnected from the other, but like being like, well, he's definitely a real dude and definitely did this shit and is definitely the real deal. You know what I mean? Like fully the real deal. But it was another intuitive thing, through meditation and things like this. I just started feeling a Jesus presence for whatever reason. So I was like, I took it as a sign to, and to get the girls involved in that scene. That's absolutely a very easy way, like Sunday school and do that kind of stuff. So we go a lot.
It's a great foundation.
Exactly. And I went to church when I was their age, like fine. And just to get that mode of like, this is religion, and have some like start to learn that stuff. And then you can make your own decision. But to have that base of this is, but anyway,
somebody training.
Yeah, exactly. That's somebodyness training, but exactly. And then you can make your own, but you have to be somebody to be nobody.
Right.
But yeah, I started feeling this Jesus presence. So I was like, I was like, something just intuitive was like, go to church. Right. And this guy does so good at like articulating things and making it relatable, and not just, it's not a Catholic church. It's like a Baptist, it's a non-denominational, but it's Baptist, like under affiliation. So a lot of music and good stuff where it's not, I can't sit through Catholic mass, dude. It's just like the worst. But, so it's like, and he tells like
regimented,
very too regimented for me. It's like, this isn't right. You know what I mean? This is a business, and you guys are trying to capitalize and brainwash, and I just don't agree with it. I don't agree with organized religion in general, but this guy, he's very articulate, knows his stuff. Like he's like a historic, like went to school, a historian, all that kind of stuff. And I had him on to talk about these kind of things, and it was funny because he had answers for all my questions. Like he was just ripping off references from the Bible, and like to answer my questions or have a counter thought to my thoughts. And it was very interesting. And a lot of it was like, that makes sense. But the one thing that stuck with me, and this is where it put me off for like that kind of like religion for so long, was I asked him, I was like, okay, because he's like, I believe that this life, like you're supposed to, like this life, you're supposed to find Jesus. This is your opportunity to find Jesus and follow Jesus, and then you're gonna bring you to heaven, right? That's fair. Could totally be it. I don't know, but doesn't feel like that's it. So I asked him. I was like, okay, that's great, but there are cultures in the world, there are places in the world to this day, they've never heard of Jesus. They've had no contact with Christianity. They have no idea it exists.
Are they going to hell?
Are they just going to hell automatically? That's not their fault they were there. They get one chance, so they have to go search for Jesus, and they don't even know he exists. They're freaking wearing loincloths and fishing off boats. They're supposed to like come to America. They don't even know America exists. Like, they've never had electricity. And then I was like, or in comparison to that, even, what about the Tibetan monk that's literally dedicated his entire life sitting in the mountains to coming into getting as close as he can to God, and literally spending day and night just being with God and wanting nothing more than to be with God, and who is the father of Jesus, right? I was like, he's going to hell? You tell me that dude's going to hell because it's not Jesus and Christianity? And his answer was yes. And that was the one thing I was like, that's nuts to me. You know what I mean? It just doesn't seem, that's the one part of it. I'm all bought in on Jesus and following Jesus. And I think, yeah, obviously Jesus is the man. And, but not to say that like Ramana Maharshi's not the man. That dude's come to me in meditation.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I've told you that. And, I told him that story, and I'm like, what about that? I'm not making it up. I didn't just imagine it. I had no idea who he was. He showed up in my meditation, and then I found out who he was randomly later. How do you explain that? You know what I mean? He couldn't really. And so it's just like, how is that possible? So I wanted to know, long-winded question, what I mean, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you, do you think that that's a possibility that you can just like, you're going to hell if you didn't follow Jesus? Does that feel intuitively wrong to you or right?
I've always, that exact example you gave, I've absolutely have, like, since I was a teenager. Like, that's always doesn't sit right, you know.
Mm-hmm.
When you do, everything I'm about to say right now cannot discount that I believe that the Gospels, as they are taught, in its purest form, its original form,
Mm-hmm.
in any form, to be honest with you, any
Sure.
translation of it is a perfect example. And I believe Christianity does a great job at preaching the message of love.
Mm-hmm.
I would say better than most other religions. Love and all of its applications. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely stunning. It is for lack of better words, it's magical. You know,
No, it's real.
Loving others, but also loving yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and having that, applying all those things to the self ultimately allows us to show up in big ways for everything around us, right? Which we talked about a little bit earlier in this conversation. I think the message of Jesus is so amazing. I've always wanted to know more.
Right.
With the Bible Chronicles, it talks about the birth, talks about a couple of things that happened as he's growing up. But then around the age of 11 or 12, he gets lost for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Mary finds him in the temple preaching to the Pharisees and the Sadducees, which, comes more messages,
Right.
that are unbelievable messages,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
What the next thing you hear or when you read about is what happened when he started his ministry, which every theological scholar will say it was around the age of 32, 33.
Mm-hmm.
When he came back in to
Yeah.
get baptized by John the Baptist. And, even John the Baptist was like, cousin, I haven't seen you in so long, right?
Yeah.
But what happened? I think about my life and I think about my teenage years.
Yeah.
In my 20s, quite frankly, like, holy shit, there's a lot of learning. There's a lot of reckoning.
Right.
There's a lot of beauty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pain. There is a lot of there is a lot that led me to this spot sitting right here in this spot, right?
Everything.
Right. All of it led us
to right here
into this room right now, talking about this right now. What happened? Because if we're going by the dogma, right? Yeah. God sent his one and only begotten son to be human, right? So that means like embodying and going through all the human shit.
Yeah.
Both metaphorically and literally, like,
right.
Like, he literally, to be a human, he's shitting, like he's doing all the stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Living the experience, truly living the human experience, right?
Maybe.
What does the human experience entail? Like, that's
might have been different. I mean, in terms
Maybe.
of no, I mean human bodily function, I'm sure, but I mean in terms of like, at one point, obviously he's talking to God, getting instruction,
Mm-hmm.
knowing this is what
Absolutely.
I gotta do. That's not necessarily a human experience all the time.
Mm-hmm.
For some people it is,
Well, it depends. It depends
but he's obviously,
ultimately.
he's a saint. I mean, he's perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
We assume,
Well, we're taught. We're
right,
taught that, yes, that is the case.
right, which isn't human.
Um,
Just like any other. That's the thing. There's these other saints, and it's like that did all these miracles and these or did all these amazing things that is documented just the same, and it's like that. And it's like, how can one come along and just say, nope, those are all wrong and false. This is it.
well, we
That's
do
what
know
that's
he experienced anger.
crazy.
The bare minimum. He experienced
Mm-hmm.
anger when he was in the temple that day, and they were turning the temple into a market,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay, yeah.
And what did he do? He got pissed off. He started flipping tables. He started saying, like, "How dare you make the house of the Lord into I forget the word that's used, but into
Yeah.
this filth." So he got pissed off, right? That a human experience,
Yeah.
right? And that's the only thing that the Catholic Church would say is why he can't be a saint, you know.
Sure.
But it's so in that time, and this is based off of different scholars and different
Sure.
studies that talk about the life of a young man in that culture, right? An Israeli, which he grew up in. He was born in Nazareth, but grew up in Galilee,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
What typically happened, the study I was reading, in that time, they did one of two things. They either married much younger
Okay.
when when the woman
Sure.
was able to, was able to
Yeah.
take seed,
Just say it, bro. When she was
or
fertile.
or if they didn't end up doing that, they traveled
Mm-hmm.
in for the means of being able to bring knowledge back into the village and bring value to the village. If
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do either of those two things, you were looked down upon. It's like what's wrong here, right?
Sure.
And those marriages were
Bilo in cage.
right. So there are theories and studies that track a Jesus when he was of age to travel,
Yeah.
traveling the Silk Road, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Spending time in ashrams in India, spending time in temples, Buddhist temples in the Himalayas,
Mm-hmm.
spending time gathering this information, and ultimately, what we know that especially those two religions talk about,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there a part of the study was also like Muslim, also going through those teachings as well. But Buddhism and Hinduism, what they do really well is they especially Hinduism speaks very intellectually about the soul's journey,
Right.
right? Which
100%, man.
Christianity doesn't as much,
Yeah.
right? But the actual soul,
I mean,
that actual that X factor that we were talking about earlier, right?
yeah.
And it is ultimately a journey within. It teaches meditation is that. I heard one time, I really love it, that prayer is oftentimes like putting something out into the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or into God or universe, whatever.
Yeah.
But meditation is that taking in,
Right.
which I think you can do both.
I've done
right?
that. I've done a meditation like that where when you inhale, you think about bringing in actually like evil and bringing in negativity and bad in the world, and then feeling it from your lungs go up out above your head and expelling it into the ether.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you as you exhale, and then when you inhale again, picture good energy and positivity and love coming back in from the ether into you. And then when you exhale out your mat, come back down into your lungs, and then you exhale the good out into the world, and you just do that over. I've done that. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
you can really feel
it's
it.
Heavy.
You can really feel it.
It's heavy. I think whenever you're diving into the Tao, right? It's that yin and yang, where there's a little bit of darkness inside the light, a little bit of light inside the darkness. That's that balance.
Yeah.
Right. Whenever we're playing with that, it's going to be powerful. It's going to be powerful because it's a full spectrum, right? It's not a bias. It's not a dogma. That's the world.
It's not a religion.
That is the experience. That's part of the human experience. It's experiencing that.
Right.
Right. Back to Jesus, right? What he came back with, right? The Gospels, at least with what has been translated now,
from what's speculated.
Yeah, I mean, first century Aramaic, which is what they spoke back then. Like, there's a lot of different translations, right?
Sure.
And a lot that may have been lost as well. But regardless, those Gospels are a pretty major break from the God that we knew in the Old Testament, right? Or what is in the Torah.
Yeah.
So he was called what when he got there? He was called a blasphemer, right? He was blaspheming. That was the ground that they stood on to get him crucified.
Right.
Right. When what he was talking about was love, and what he was talking about is that what was within.
Yeah.
Right. That was that major break. And what I believe specifically the Catholic Church historically has done is take that message and use it for control.
Yep. I agree.
Which, if you've seen the Book of Eli, I think that's a really good example of that, right? The Gary Oldman's character was trying to get the last Bible because they burned all the books, right? Because they felt like they caused war in this post-apocalyptic world, and he was trying to get the books. This last Bible. He knew this blind man had this last Bible. Denzel Washington, total badass in the movie, unreal movie,
great movie.
Eventually ends up giving the Bible, right? And then, spoiler alert, anyone? Spoiler alert. Finds out that it's all in Braille, and that you didn't even know he was blind the entire time because he was such a badass. But he read it every single day to memorize the entire thing, that he was able to recite the entire Bible for people who were trying to redo all the books.
Like rewrite it, like remake it.
Everything, right? So it has a lot of power. The Word of God,
of course,
has immense power.
Well, so I was saying, the pastor, he, like everything, he had a reference from the Bible, like to support what he was saying or what I was saying, or to counter what I was saying. Like, it was all there, and it made sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's amazing works in there. I've always just wanted to know more. I want to know more, because the agony in the garden, for instance, what a human moment. And it was, and if you read the text in all its iterations, he was essentially begging God, like, are you sure? Are you sure this is the only way?
Isn't that the opening scene of Passion of the Christ?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying, right? He's crying.
Yeah.
He's crying in the dirt. He's in the dirt. And he's like, what, are you sure that this needs to happen? Are you sure I need to do this? If there's any other way, please.
Yeah.
Tell me. Like what a pure father-son conversation.
Right.
But then he's reminded by the devil of why this needs to be done. Right. And is that something physically that's happening? Maybe. Is that something internal that's happening? Maybe. I saw this really interesting graphic, and it was like of this chair. It's like a throne.
Okay.
And it was in the space on the clouds and stuff. And it says like a renovation. It's like the kingdom of God has moved locations. It can no longer be found in the clouds. You have to venture within to find it.
Yeah, that's cool.
And that is the human experience. And
Right.
he was able to, through whatever it is that he went through in those 32, 33 years of his life that led him to that cross, whatever he was able to find within that human experience. And I think that human experience, because this is a vessel, right?
Yeah.
We're relearning a lot of the ways of that spiritual connection.
Right.
What if this guy, Jesus, had to go through those same things too, but he did it. He was able to relearn. He was able to make that connection with God so strong that he's the most famous fucking figure in all of humanity.
Right.
Right? His word is still being preached 2,000 years later and followed by more and more people every single day.
Yeah.
Right? That's powerful. Mm-hmm. That's extremely powerful. But
there's a reason that so many people follow the other religions too.
So, I mean, my own personal,
for me, it's like, why? And it's just like, I think it's all, I think the whole point is to have a relationship with God, whatever that is, or whoever that is. God, which I think is just the universe.
Sure.
Encompassed, right? All of the energy, all of the thing. I don't think it's a physical person. Maybe some people manifest it as a physical person, but it's just everything. It's all.
It's all.
And in I think all of it, personally, is people connect with that in different ways, and that's where all these different things come from. It's Robert says it's just a different vehicle that gets you there. And for some people, that's going to church and worshiping Jesus. And for some people, that's being with the Buddha. Some people it's doing just meditating. Some people it's Hinduism. Some people it's this. Some people it's that.
Someone referred to religion as just an audio interface.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. There's many different types of audio interfaces. Right.
That's great.
But it's
the same thing.
What's it doing is taking sound and then putting it into the DAW, right? Which you're able to create the masterpiece or that truth, that the music, that's where that's where it ends up going, right?
Which is why it's crazy that some people just, I don't know why it's so, and that's why we have all these conflicts over this stuff since the beginning of time. It's just like people get so hell bent on this is the way, this is it, and you're wrong.
There's so crazy. There's such amazing messaging in all religions.
100%.
And especially the ones that they're saying the same shit.
They're all saying the same thing when you really look at it. If you actually study the others, they're all saying the same thing.
I believe there's one God.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
I also believe that God goes by many different names.
Yeah.
And has manifested in many different ways that speak to the culture of the people. And that's very, that's very...
It's very controversial.
Very controversial. I wasn't expecting to get that controversial, but I was also at the same time. It's whatever whatever gets you there.
Exactly. Whatever gets you there.
I mean, here's the thing that you spoke on, and I was just having this conversation recently because we're talking about like the wars and stuff that are going on, and it's a drag, dude. Like it's a total drag. You can talk about Gaza, you can talk about Ukraine, you can talk about you should bring up Yemen, you should bring up different genocides that are happening around the world that aren't in the news every single day, that aren't attached to money.
There's all kinds of inherent evil in the world happening outside of just those mainstream conflicts.
See, if we're to, and this is going to be very controversial to some,
I love it.
It's going to be very difficult. It's a very difficult thing to grasp. And Ram Dass does talk about this, even back in the 70s, which is such a wild thing when you dig into teachings of Ram Dass.
I've heard all.
Yeah. Is evil and the bad things that happen in this life, is that not also God?
It is 100%. He always says
God
that
is all. If
it's
God
all
is
perfect.
everything,
regardless of, I say that all the time to like Mallory, stuff like this. Yesterday, I'm like, look, regardless of what your ego wants it to be, and obviously we want things. We're human beings. That's part of being a human being, is you want things, but that want is what creates the turmoil and the suffering and all that kind of stuff, which is, it is what it is. That's how you learn. You don't learn without it. But it's, regardless of what you're like, you might want to be, I want things to go this way and I want this to happen, right? But when you come to these realizations we're talking about, it's all, but I strive for things. I want things. I want things that are things that I want to accomplish as a human being. But I also constantly remind myself that I have to step back, and I want these things, but if it doesn't happen that way, however it turns out, I'm going to make moves to do these things and I'm going to work towards that direction. But I'm also going to remind myself that the plan is perfect and everything is happening exactly how it should, regardless of what I want. And my ego needs to accept that and accept the outcome of whatever it is, and know that that is the perfect way for it to work out. And in the end, I'll know why.
Sure.
Right. Regardless. Because think about it. How many times is something you thought it was like the end of the world, like something terrible happened or it sucked or just an absolutely shitty situation. But then you look back and you're like, well, if that didn't happen, this wouldn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So even you're in the own personal journey, which again, I just want to know more. Right. I want to know more about his life and what took him to these amazing heights of just inner knowing, right? Because that's what he wanted us to learn. He wanted us to learn that being the way, right? Like
I think that's what it's all about.
That, like, he's trying to teach us how to be one with the Father.
I think that's what the whole thing's about, regardless of what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. But the being able to take a look at the inner journey it takes to get there is even the bad stuff. I love quoting Ram Dass, so we're Ram Dassin tonight. He's here in the room. He's in the room.
He's the GOAT.
Suffering is a profound vehicle towards grace.
Yep.
Profound. It can be, right? If we face it, right? And I think a lot of religion is lost in that messaging, because we're sometimes use it as an escape. People use it as an escape to not face their own shit.
Yep. Or to feel better about themselves,
or to justify something, right? And so one of the hardest things to do is face yourself, right? Like us tennis players, we get it because we're by ourselves, right? We're not relying on somebody else. We can't be coached. We can't be, like, we're by ourselves. Andre Agassi calls it the loneliest sport for a reason. How many coaches have told me I'm my own worst enemy on the court?
You learn so much about yourself.
You have to
playing tennis
or
boxing or anything like that.
Like if you're letting emotions drive that vehicle, then you're probably not going to be successful. You're probably not going to like the outcome.
Yeah.
Especially if you're making decisions from a state of high emotion, right? And I always tell my kids, my students, like, listen, you're a human being. You're allowed to feel things. However, you gotta learn ways, coping mechanisms, ways to let it go also.
Sure.
Right. So yeah, you learn a lot about life through tennis. It's the inner game.
Yeah,
right.
100%. A funny thing about that too, some similar vein that I tell people that I've coached, adults even, right? And they're like, these are just like adults that are playing their club match and they're nervous and they're like, I get so nervous and blah, blah, blah. And like, and my partner, and think, they think about stuff like, what's my partner going to think? And,
right.
All this kind of stuff. And I
go
actually,
deeper.
Right. I break it down for them. And first of all, I'm like, if your partner gets pissed because you double fault, be like, yeah, you've never double faulted before. Give me a break. And first of all, let's start there. But then, but the way I explain it is I'm like, well, think about it like this. When you step out on the court, you already know the outcome. There's no reason to be nervous about it. And I wish I knew this when I was playing. I didn't know it till after I'm done, right? None of this stuff. But I applied it. Pete used to come out sometimes when I was working at the club, and we would play sets and stuff just to because you wanted to, you get the itch to play and be competitive and play at a high level. And we would go and we'd play, and I applied this kind of stuff, and amazing, phenomenal. But anyway, I would tell him, I'd be like, when you step on the court for a match, you know the outcome. There's nothing to be afraid of. You're going to win or lose. It's going to be one of those two things. All you have to do is play each point the best you can, and you'll find out at the end what's going to happen. I said, you don't go watch a Netflix series and go, I'm going to watch the last episode so I know what happens because I'm super nervous about what's going to happen in the show, and then I'm going to start over and then I'm going to watch it. Right? No, you watch it through and you just go through and I don't know what the end's going to be, but I'm just going to watch. The match should be the same way. And then you can translate it like, what's going to happen. You're going to die. That's it. Okay? I'm sorry. There's no reason to be afraid of it. That's just what's going to happen. Right? And yeah, it's scary as fuck, but it's like, that's what's going to happen. Accept it. So why be afraid? It's going to happen, and you're not even going to know it happened. Most likely. You're going to wake up and be like, oh shit, what a real dream that was crazy. That was insane. You're going to pop out of bed and be like, what the fuck was that? How long was I asleep? You're like, half an hour. You took a little nap, bro. And you just lived this life. I had kids and a wife and this stress and like bills, and what the fuck was that? Like, what are you talking about, dude? But you're going to win or lose when you step out on the court. So just play the match, and at the end, you'll know which end of that you're on. There's no reason to be afraid of it. Yeah, it's already been determined. You're going to win or lose.
Like Van Wilder says, "Don't take life too seriously."
Yeah,
you'll never get out.
You never get out alive. Exactly. It's true, but it's true, right? Yeah. And that's why a lot of times, like especially like with risk taking, when you're trying to build a business or you're making a job change, all this kind of stuff, it's like, yeah, it's scary, but ultimately. I was talking about Mallory because she's thinking about changing jobs, not careers, but jobs. Like we're going to a different company, and it's like she's like so nervous. Like, what if it doesn't work out? So I said, look, you've taken your brain and you've weighed the pros and cons, and I'm done hearing about it, honestly, because it's been weeks of just hearing the same thing repeated over and over again. And we've worked it out. There's no new details, right? And it's scary when you make a change. Change is scary. I get it. But now I told her, you have to take your mind out of it and feel what decision you should make. What feels intuitively right, and do that. Regardless of whether regardless of whether your brain could say, no, don't do this. But something inside says, this is the move. You do it. Right? It's scary as fuck. I had the choice a few years ago, right? Either take a job as a tennis director at this other club now and back into that, and now I'm locked into that, or, which is easy, provide, it's all good, or get into real estate, have a freer schedule. I'm not working for anyone anymore, and I have this potential to do this. Is it guaranteed? No. Is it scary as fuck? Absolutely. So I sat down, intuitively just cleared my head of thinking about negatives and positives and fear and the stuff, and it's like, what felt like the right thing to do? That. Do it. Fucking just trust, just have faith, man.
Yeah, embrace the mystery.
Just have faith. And if you fuck up, big deal. Make a change. Intuitively feel like what the next move is, because you made the right move. You can't make the wrong choice. Even if it's the wrong, like what we deem as your brain is you made the wrong choice. That was the choice you were always going to make, I think. And that was the path you're on. You were always going to make that choice. It's almost predeterminism.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, I think that gut instinct or that intuition is a direct line to divine.
Yeah.
And usually the shitty things that have come in my life is when I fight that gut instinct or that intuition, right? Or I try to justify doing something different because that's what I want to do, or it's something that's going to feel really good.
Yeah. Just thinking with the mind.
So, yeah, there's definitely truth to that, and yeah, ultimately, we're all faced with that. Keep going back to the human experience, right? Like that is a human experience, and we're living it every day. We're faced with it every single day until the day we die. We're faced with those things, and I think the more that we stay connected into that inner knowing, but also embracing the mystery, that does breed fear. The mystery is a scary place, right?
Definitely.
You don't know. Not knowing is pretty fucking terrifying. But man, it's once you go through it, it's like, of course I needed to do this. Of course this needed to happen.
Yep. So glad I did that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Whether it worked out or not.
Exactly, because it probably led to something else.
Absolutely led to something else. Absolutely. So yeah, man, it's a journey. This life. I look back on mine, and man, I'm so happy that I took. It was almost like it was almost like time travel, but I took a trip into really diving into different eras of my life. Even the little boy version of me, and I realized that a lot of the stuff that I was suffering through was because there was this little boy taking the wheel. That 10-year-old, 11-year-old little boy that didn't know any better and that was hurting, was responding, right?
Yeah.
And so, and with my son, it's I can't help but mirror his experience with mine. I think son or daughter, it's the same. But it's with him being my first. I try to remember that. I try to remember wanting to be the man that I needed in certain periods of my life.
Yeah.
And wanting to be that for him.
Yeah.
And wanting to be that for my daughter.
100%.
To be able to, because those things that I experienced are in me. I think both my parents tried their best ultimately, and they loved me, and they sacrificed a lot for me, and they did the best they could. I'm fully took a long time to become aware of that, but I'm fully aware of that now.
Yeah.
They did their absolute best. On that road of doing their absolute best, there's some battle wounds, that still resurface.
Oh yeah.
In weird ways, right? So those things come up, different tactics one of my parents would have used.
Yep. Oh, all the time. You're like, shit.
but isn't that the practice of of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
of being so in the moment that you can catch it before you actually like say it.
Right.
Right. Being so present that you recognize where that's coming from and where you've heard that before, and even deeper, like how it felt.
Yeah.
And being able to stop it. No more. It stops with me.
Right.
It ends with me.
Yeah.
And that's where I say
there's also things where it's like, that worked out for the better and you use it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, ultimately
the other foot.
That's the decisions we all have to make.
Right.
You know? Some things I would say I definitely want to not expose them to.
Of course.
No.
God. You think I'm giving my kids the belt?
That's particularly what I'm thinking of.
It's not gonna happen.
Right, 100%. But ultimately, that is the great responsibility we have, continuing our family lines.
Yeah.
So we talk a lot about ancestors, but bro, we're the ancestors now.
Right.
We are that. They are our descendants. They are the sum of survivors.
Right. True.
All the way back to prehistoric, or all the way back to that one guy or whatever.
Yeah, whoever the fuck. I gotta figure out who that
was. But what a responsibility that is, and that's heavy. It's heavy as fuck. All of our ancestors' hopes and dreams. Right? Waking up in the morning to go to work or hunt or go to battle is not for nothing.
Or their modes of coming to God.
Whatever it might be, right?
Yeah, all of it.
All of that. There's hopes and dreams attached to that for the rest of their families,
mm-hmm.
right? For their lines. So that, and we see these like shows like Game of Thrones and Vikings and stuff. They talk about their children and their children's children and their children's children for generations.
Yeah.
Right. That in and of itself, considering those with that word for generations, is already that implies that they're thinking of what their line will become.
Yeah.
Right. And how it's going to affect the world. So becoming a parent and taking that quite frankly, a sacred role, right? As a father or as a mother, you think of the attributes and the characteristics of that archetype of father and a mother.
Sure.
It goes back to mother nurturing, caring, father protecting, guiding, right?
Yeah.
Embodying those characteristics really to where it's not just about yourself, but it's also about this other little person that you created, which is also you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is also yourself.
Oh, you see it so much.
It's
where you're like, oh man, I did that.
Unbelievable. 100%. You gotta own it.
Yeah.
You gotta own it sometimes.
You're like, I did that.
And what a fucking experience.
Yeah, man.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it to be able to see that in that form.
But I think too, when you get to the point, like for myself, like where you have that awareness, right? Whereas I don't think my parents had that awareness of any of that. Which is just, I think, the generation. Like I don't think they had a lot of awareness.
Well, many people now don't either.
Still, either, yeah. There's so many people that don't have that awareness. Like, my thought is, yeah, there's times like, okay, I need to be the father, and I need to take charge of this situation, and I need to lay down the law because I know that this needs to happen this way, or you need to teach them that this isn't appropriate, and you teach them things like how to be kind and how to be sharing and all this other stuff, how to use the toilet. You got to teach them things, but also I always try to stay cognizant of which is not the role that my parents played at all. My parents was like, it was always like, my dad always say it. He's like, I've been on this earth 50 years. I know some things. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know shit, basically. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I try to stay cognizant of, and this is my ultimate goal, and I fall short all the time of it, but it's still my goal, is like, Matt asked me, she's like, like, what kind of, like, just not like what kind of father you want to be in derogatory, but what kind of father, like, do you want, like, what kind of father do you see yourself being? Right. I'm like, and it's not, I don't want it to be that over model of I'm the father and you're my daughter and these are the roles that we're playing. And so my constant thought is like, I just want to be whatever they need me to be at the time.
And that's the thing, you have to try to be.
Exactly. So I just try to be as good I try to be the best person that I can be disciplined, be healthy, and set the example. And then if they need me to be caring at the time, I can do that. If they need me to be the friend at the time, I can be that. If they need me to be a dad and be the father, I can do that. If they need me to be a protector, I will be that at that time, right? Not just like this is my lane and this is what it's going to be, right? Which I think a lot of people fall into, but I think it's valuable to just be what your kids need you to be at that moment.
Yeah.
Whatever that is,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's regardless of what it is. Like, I want my kids to see me working out. I'm not going to tell them to go work out. And it already happens. Like, every time I'm out and like working out in the gym, they'll come out because we have it in the garage, right? And they'll come out, and Layla comes out there and she wants to do exercises with me. Like, she wants me to like I had her doing the bench press and stuff like that, and like doing, like, teaching her how to do push-ups and holding her on the pull-up bar so she can try, helping her do pull-ups and stuff like, and they want to do it. You know what I mean? I think it's just stuff like that. It's just like setting an example rather than being like, you need to do this and you need to do that. Be like, I'm going to do this, and they're going to see me doing that, and it's going to teach them to be that way. And that's good and bad.
Yeah. They learn better by modeling, not by being told.
Exactly.
That's just.
And sometimes that's not the best thing, but most of the time it is.
Well, if you're working on yourself,
yeah, exactly.
Then what you're modeling, if it makes you vibrant and full of vitality, it brings abundance to your world. They see that.
Yep.
So now you're giving them the keys to the Lambo, right? Like,
exactly.
You're giving them the keys, the secrets to having vitality and being abundant. Just by being you, just by working on you.
Exactly. And just little things too, like little adjustments. And it'll happen, and they'll make little adjustments. And that's where the healing process begins. You make the little adjustments, then they see that and they take the good and the bad the same way we're doing. And they make little adjustments, and it gets better and it gets better. But if you stay stuck in just being a certain way, they're not going to make those, and then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
The wheel keeps going around and around and around. Nobody gets better. But like for example, in my family, temper was huge. Everybody had huge tempers, right? And it grew up basically, we'd yell and scream at each other and call each other names and say the worst things to each other.
Same.
Yeah. And then once it was all out, because there was no apologies, there was no reconciling. It was just like, we just like moved on. And it's like, it never happened. And it drives Mallory crazy because sometimes I still like do that. Like if we get in a fight or something, and I'll just like, a little time will go by, and then it'll just be like, it never happened. She's like, we're not going to talk about this. You said this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, she's like, I just don't know how you guys, she sees it with the whole thing. Like, I don't know how you guys do it. You guys just move on like nothing ever happened. And I guess her family didn't do that. I guess that's not normal. And come to find out, it's extremely not normal. But then, so like now, the little adjustment I make is I lose my temper sometimes, because sometimes it needs to happen. Like, like they're going to do something that's going to get hurt, and you're not following directions right now. You need to listen to me, because otherwise I don't want to spend the afternoon in the emergency room. So you didn't listen. And sometimes you lose your temper. Try not to. I'm actually catch myself more often than not, but sometimes you lose your temper. But when I do that, I always go back and I was like, hey, do you know why this happened?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, well, can you tell me why you're in timeout? Like, explain it to me. And if they can't, this is why, right? And then, hey, I'm sorry that I yelled, right? I mean, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done that. And you apologize,
Modeling accountability.
right? I never got that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like an adjustment that I made on that. It's
Yeah.
like, look, it's okay. You're human. You can lose your temper, but then it's like, hey, my bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is why, but I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I feel like they learned from that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've had some of the most emotional and spiritual at the same time moments of, because you're going through the whole spectrum, right? You're going through the whole spectrum of like being pretty pissed off about something that might have triggered that for something. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's something that I resented within myself that manifests through them. And what I'm really pissed off at is like that resentment in myself, right? Like you hear all these, like, a bunch of families. I think every family has it where, like, oh, the Johnny's so much like his father, the exact same,
Right.
and they always butt heads, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately, that I believe that is the parents' responsibility to take that inner journey, because it's stemming from the resentment within themselves that they just can't stand within this other little person. But when they're not facing it and they're not catching it, what happens? It's now their child learns even more exactly how it's done. So all those, like, those inner things that you don't know why they come up or why you react to a certain way, like, now it's like it becomes embedded in their everyday activities,
right?
So it's a trip, man. It's a trip.
Or they repeat the phrase that you did to them, to the little one.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they'll say things that I say to her, so say it to Liv.
So, and I got spanked too.
Yeah.
Like, pretty brutal. Ultimately, it was that was the main reason why my mom ended up divorcing my dad.
Overdid it.
There was a lot associated with it, and it was, tennis was that vehicle.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, growing up, that was the main thing that was my father's thing, was my tennis. And it was through that wanting so badly for me to win for whatever reason, or
they're invested in it.
They're super invested, and I see it every day. Also the different forms of it.
Our kids will have the advantage there, though, for the same reason. They'll be like, I'm not going to be like that in sports, because I know,
absolutely,
I know how counterproductive that is.
100%.
Being a coach and seeing it from the other side.
100%. But so there are those reasons. However, that's ultimately what made tennis for me not so much fun for competition specifically.
100%.
And so I don't get that competitive itch that you're talking about, like, really at all. However, coaching introduced a whole nother side to the sport that I'd known a lot about and played my whole life.
Yeah.
To use that as a real vehicle toward being able to, like, do what I really want to do, which was work with kids, and be a positive, and a reliable influence on their lives. Tennis is just that vehicle. Ultimately, I do fancy myself a good coach.
Sure.
But I think
we know too much about this shit.
Partially what makes me a good coach, though, too, is like the patience and the application of these tactics and strategies that people see success with, kids see success with. I'm still in contact with a lot of my former students that, I don't think will ever not have contact,
Sure.
And they teach you shit too. They teach you. I've learned so much over the years. Now being like a seasoned veteran.
No, yeah, 100%, man.
So it's
Done a few tours.
yeah, it's being able to look back on, the things that brought me to this point in my career. I'm very fond of it, but it's being able to say, with some of those things, like the buck stops here, has been phenomenal. So what I was saying, I digress. I used to get spanked with my son. We do quiet time or like a timeout scenario.
Yeah.
A couple minutes until he's able to self-regulate. Okay, come on over here, sit in my lap, and what you were saying, like being able to like explain and have that conversation, and to be able to sometimes be like, I'm sorry, and having that accountability, but also reminding them like, I love you so much,
Right.
And being able to have that be the end of it. Like, I love you so much.
Right.
And then giving him a hug. It's such a, it hits me right in the feels when it happens.
Sure.
Even now after doing it for 4 years, it's such a powerful thing because you're in those moments. Talk about that responsibility. You're rewriting the code,
Right. Exactly.
the genetic code,
exactly,
inside,
or at least starting the process of it over the next however many generations it takes.
Stops with me.
You know what I mean?
It stops with me. So yeah, man, parenthood has
It's a wild thing.
Fuck.
It's a wild thing.
Yeah.
It's like such a cliche thing too. Some people are like, oh, it's the best thing ever, blah blah. And when you don't have kids, you're like, what the fuck ever.
You don't get it.
You're just saying it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure it is. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? Thank God I don't. And then you do, and you're like, oh, it is the best fucking thing ever.
My mom used to say all the time. I remember just all these different moments where she would say, as a mother. And she would lead a sentence with as a mother, and then go on to describe the experience as a mother, and whether something pained her or she was expressing her love to us. Like, for instance, silly little example, the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones, when that happened, she cried for like an hour, bro. But she was like as a mother, you don't know what it's like to see one of your kids get killed, like throat slit right in front of you. Spoiler alert. You don't understand, for like an hour, just like ugly crying about it.
Yeah.
And Red Wedding's like a pretty significant part of the show.
Oh yeah.
But now being a parent, obviously I'm a father, but now I get it. Now it's like, oh man, like you thought you knew what love was before.
Right.
You had no fucking clue. You didn't even scratch the fucking surface on what like
it actually is.
It is a lot. It's immense. It is. I can't. I think of a world without either my two kids, and it's just like it doesn't make sense to me. It's like, how did I even like survive? How did I even like what did I do?
Yeah.
Like what was I doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like it's wild, So, yeah, parenthood has absolutely been a major vehicle in my own journey.
100%, man.
Whether, I don't know if I can say it's changed me. That's kind of a cliche.
It's fine.
But
it's a real one.
It's a real one. It has definitely evolved me.
Sure.
Into this next era of my life.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Don't you love it when you got like friends that are single and don't have kids, and they're like, dude, they're like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time.
No,
I just don't have time.
I'm just so stressed out.
Yeah. You're like, you don't have time? Shut the fuck up. You don't understand how much time you have.
It's adorable.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
It's adorable. Yeah. I feel so bad for you. Oh, you have to like go to the store and shop for yourself. Oh, that's terrible. And just for you. And you got to cook your dinner. Oh, that's too bad. Oh man. You didn't have time. Yeah, because you just got binge watched a show, so you ran out of time. You just got caught up binge watching. I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed out. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very adorable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, to wrap this up, I want to plug a little bit too. You're still doing the Steel Mace stuff, right?
I am.
Yeah. How's that going?
Another really
it's an amazing
practice that has been able to allow me to move energy within, to incorporate resistance with mobility, and resistance training and mobility is and it's something that's related to tennis in a sense, because it's so intertwined with technique, and proper form, to keep it functional. That's what really attracted me to it. So
yeah.
But just also being able to challenge the brain as well, to let go of the thinking mind, and that's ultimately flow, right? Flow is a real phenomenon that happens in the brain called transient hyperfrontality, and everyone's experienced it in some form or another, whether it's like a workflow, or you're talking to a client, you're talking to a client, or talking to a person, and you're just going off, and you almost don't even remember what you said. You can't reproduce it, right? In sports,
the zone,
we call it the zone, right? You're in the zone right now, like that is a flow state.
Yeah. Don't think about it, just keep going.
You're going, right? So the different flow modalities have been a lot of fun to explore, and my main goal is ultimately I have a couple images in my head when I'm thinking about my future as an old man.
Okay.
And I do want to say also, officially, I am middle-aged. If you consider that the life expectancy in the United States is 72.4 years,
right?
I'm sitting at 37, so I am officially within that spot, right? But I feel like I'm in my prime, also. I feel like you got shit figured out. I still have my health, and I still have my very childlike optimism on life, things that have happened to me haven't broken that. I want to be able to, I look at, like, you go to an amusement park and you see these families, big families wearing the same shirts, like,
oh yeah,
they customized shirts with their last name.
We just did it on a cruise.
Yeah, that's one of the things I want to do the most as the patriarch of the family.
Yeah,
like being able to look at my entire family and my kids as their life partners, and my grandkids is even want to see their kids. I want to be able to look at them all wearing the same fucking stupid ass shirts and knowing that, man, I fucking made all this happen.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing then, but man,
Probably still won't at the time, ultimately.
well, looking back on it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's looking back on it, it's like, the way I think, at least, I always think of um, that version of me seeing it and living it, which is ultimately like what I'm doing now. My younger version is seeing that, and then, a lot of philosophies will teach about manifestation, right? Like, so, but in essence, we are seeing it, like you're envisioning it. I want to be able to throw and play catch with my grandkids, play tag with them, race them down the street, and still be able to do it. So Steel Mace Flow was an opportunity for me to be a little bit more in touch with my body, but also be able to become a student again.
Yeah.
I realized that was something that, like, I hadn't done in a long time. And that's an outlet that I continue to utilize for that, is, continue to learn. And especially as a coach, it's like, you're always coaching. You're not necessarily a student.
Right.
Good coaches are always students also.
Absolutely. Right? I learn stuff from people that I teach all the time.
Yeah, 100%. Like Nick Bollettieri would say all the time. He says of his many quotes. But when you feel like you've learned it all, it's time to go back to school.
I like that. Yeah.
So it's so yeah, Steel Mace Flow. I mean, it's I'm teaching classes now, and that's been a really cool journey to try to become comfortable as I am teaching tennis with Steel Mace Flow.
Yeah.
But it's just fun. It's something that
well, that's it there.
I'm able to do that challenges me, and I get to share something I'm super passionate with others. So yeah, it's going great, man. It's going great, and it's ultimately, that practice is still very much in its infancy. And I'm gonna be a 67-year-old guy just with my mace,
macing it up,
macing, scaring people in the park somewhere.
I mean, every time we've done it, it's been awesome. I don't do it as much as you, but I think a lot of people think of it and it's like a weightlifting training, like kettlebell type of thing. But the flow thing is different for sure. It's way different. Like a couple times we did it, like you start to feel like when you're getting in that, after you do it, it's meditation. It's a form of meditation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is.
Absolutely. So as working in a factory and
washing the dishes, man.
Yeah,
I do it all the time.
It can all be.
It can all be. It is.
I haven't gotten that level of yogiism where I can meditate in a dishwashing scenario, but
it's not even that. Like it's not even like I think of it as meditation. It's like I do it sometimes where it's like, if it's cooking, sometimes I listen to it. There's like, oh, I want to hear this interview. I'll put that on while I'm cooking. But other times I'm like, turn it all off and I'm just cooking. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just cooking, or I'm just washing the dishes. I'm not trying to rush through, like, oh, I got to get the dishes done so I can go sit on the couch, or so I can go do this. No, I'm just washing the dishes, and I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about meditating. I'm just here now washing the dishes, and it's such a centering thing. And you can do it all with anything, right? I do it in the car all the time. Like I'm just driving, and I just witness myself driving. You know what I mean? Like I'm driving, like there's my hands on the wheel, right? My foot's on the accelerator, and I'm just like, that's it. That's all that's happening right now. There's literally nothing else happening right now. And it's amazing how you can incorporate that to so many things, and you get, it's just really incredible. Rather than because people think about meditating, like, I got to sit down and cross my legs and do all this stuff, and I do that, but for a while like early stages, like I would do it like every day, and every time I have at this point, anytime I do it, I don't do it every day anymore. It's like I felt the need for a lot of times. I even had the beads in my pocket, like, and I would do that and like say the sentence just over in my head, like constantly, like just sitting on the couch, just take it out, boom, 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 and I'd be watching TV, but I wouldn't be watching, I wouldn't be like into the show. I'd be thinking about I'm watching TV, right? And it got to that point, and then one day I was doing the beads and they broke. They just broke, and I was like, well, and I thought for a second, well, I guess I need some more. Then I was like, wait a minute, I think this is a sign that practice is that I've gotten to a point where that's done. Mm-hmm. And I never bought new ones. I never stopped doing it. I was like, I think that's a sign, like mission complete with that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like that has gotten me to a point where it's served a purpose. And now it's just like at any point when you get that awareness, you can just put it into play when you're aware, and you can just do it with whatever you're doing.
The beads are within you.
Exactly. You can just do what you're doing. Like sometimes it's just like, even if sitting, like if the kids are playing music, we're driving, like I'll sit there, I'll just drive, and I just like, it's all going on, but I'm just driving, and that's all that's happening. And it's just like, it's very meditative, and it's amazing. And that's when a lot of ideas come to you and into it. And that's kind of like what we talked about earlier with like a decision you have to make if you're thinking about things happening or things you need to do, or should I do this or that? And then you get into that, like I'm just washing the dishes, and you come out of it and it's just like, you just know somehow, and it's no longer a decision. Happens all the time. It's pretty wild. So yeah, it's not even like thinking of it as like a meditation. I recommend it to anybody listening. And it's just like, I'm just doing this right now. I'm not rushing it. This is just the moment. Nothing else really matters right now because this is happening. And you know what I mean? Yeah. It happens in, there's a lot of people stress out with real estate transactions. They get all freaking stressed, and it is stressful sometimes, but it's like, I got to get this done right now. I got to do this. And their husband, it's like, okay, I'm doing this, but it's dinner time right now, or it's bedtime for the kids. And in 45 minutes, it'll be okay if it happens in 45 minutes. It doesn't need it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to go with the flow. So it's all just vehicles. And I think the Steel Mace one is definitely one it's still a pretty small community, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's definitely something, I think, the more people like you get into it and introduce people to it, and that it's just a way to learn how to, like, that's a vehicle, but it's also a way to learn how to get into that state and to cultivate that presence, that ability to be present, ultimately present. Not like I'm here and I'm doing this, but I'm thinking about 5 other things.
Sure.
Right? That's not it. And it's an amazing way to live. It's really changed my life. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, that's all it is. That's all life really is, man. No matter how much we try to plan,
it's just now, right? The future is an illusion and the past doesn't exist. Right?
Yeah.
Because when we started the show, it was now, and we're finishing the show, and it's still now. It's just now. We think of the future, like you're thinking about the shirts and things and all that stuff.
That meeting in 2 weeks is, when it gets here, it's going to be now.
It's going to be now. We're just in the eternal now, man. And you got to remember that in life. A lot of the stress goes away when you realize that, honestly. Oh, you still get stressed and you still worry and you're still afraid and have all the human stuff. But when you can step back and realize it, it kind of makes it easier. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people find you, man? If they want to get in touch with you, if they want to learn more about anything we've talked about, if they want to get involved with the Mace,
all the stuff.
Do the plugs.
I'm on Instagram, Magi_movement. And that Magi MAGI movement. Okay. You know, most posts are Steel Mace Flow related. And
I enjoy them.
My 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 explorations with that practice. But I through that, I'm also sharing things that I connect with on a philosophical and many times internal level as well. So it's and I think it's a good outlet for it. There's a time I've purged my purging of social media is a little bit different because I've never gotten rid of it, but I've gone through many different stages of getting rid of what I'm consuming, right?
Yeah.
And then being more selective and intentional with what I'm consuming as well. So I'm pretty as far as what I see on there, it's people that that are able to feed that part of me as well. Whether it's like organizations or different pages, or everything serves a purpose on there. And you know I think that's a best practice, honestly, is because it's going to happen again. I'm going to go in there and purge pages again,
Yep.
when I want
Constantly
to become realigned, but I would recommend that for anyone that feels like they're struggling with what they're taking in, because age of information, we're taking in a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot that we're taking in.
If something makes you feel too much, especially negative, just unfollow or block or put not interested.
Yeah.
I do it all the time, like the ads and stuff. I'm like, not interested. Don't want to see it.
Yeah. 100%.
Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate you doing this.
Absolutely.
We got it
Thanks
in.
for having me on, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody, thank you for listening. Really happy to be partnered with AMA Media. I wanted to mention that. We got Patreon working on some behind the scenes videos, and we get everything filmed. We're going to launch. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have some awesome content for you guys over there. And like, subscribe, follow. A 5-star review costs you $0 and really helps the cause. Leave Julio some comments, some feedback so we can get better. I love feedback. And remember, the Extra Workshop is live, and all the proceeds go to help veterans in need with various charities geared towards helping veterans. So we're always spreading the love around. Go check it out, and appreciate you for listening. Peace out.